Well, the gang's all back together, or at least some of us right now. Pat, Landrum, Molly. Conrad is with us. He's just down in Tuscaloosa. We'll get a live update from him coming up a little bit later in the show as the Alabama Crimson Tide football team got underway this morning. They had practice around 8:30. We hope to hear from Kalen DeBoer coming up around 10:45. So Conrad will join us a little bit later in the program. Partner, good to see you. Hope your trip out west was a productive one.
It was great to be seen. It's great to be back in one piece. And yes, it was productive. We got some rest, some relaxation, a little bit of exercise. I felt good about it.
Well, the pictures you sent me made me extremely jealous. They were fantastic.
Went to Boulder.
I was a little disappointed that the meeting that you had scheduled with you and Coach Prime did not end up happening.
Well, he didn't show up.
Well,
he didn't show up, Pat.
I was just worried that if that meeting did take place, that it would ended up like Trump and Zelensky. So
Found a guy that had a name badge on, and I said, "Hey, can you get me in to see Prime?" And he said, "I think I can do that. Give me your number." And that was the last. He said, "Just wait here."
It did nothing happen.
And so hours passed, and finally, my wife was like, "We need to head back to where we're actually staying." No, but Boulder was an interesting campus. I think maybe everything that I expected. We'll say this: one of my bathroom emergencies happened as we were going across the quad, as you could imagine. So I turned to my lovely wife Dorothy, and she knows this look by now, and she says, "It's time, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes, it's time." So we go across the campus, find our way into a building that has a door that is unlocked, which. Maybe something that you need to review in your next safety briefing. But I got in there. There was classes going on. Felt like I was a part of
school.
Well, yeah. And there were some really smart people in this particular building. And what they were talking about was way above whatever elementary education I got on the subject. And was able to. But I felt like I'd gone to class at Colorado for a day.
Did you see Chris Fowler? Was he wandering around his alma mater?
I did not see Fowler.
Joe Klatt.
Didn't see any Joel.
Okay.
The outside of the stadium, though, I liked it. It was nice.
Yeah, the pictures you sent me look nice.
It's very nice. Different, though, than what I thought. I don't know what I thought I was going to get when I got to Boulder, but it was different. Not as mountain towny as I thought maybe it would be. There's one video that I'll show you that in 10 seconds of the video, it describes everything you would have thought about Boulder.
Okay. Is it like Berkeley?
I've never been there, but yeah, I'm going to say, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely spot on.
All right. Plenty to get into. This is Reaction Monday. Historically, we like to hear from you a great bit of the show. Basketball is going to dominate our conversation. Obviously, a very, very busy weekend when it came to that. Let's start with what happened in Lexington, Kentucky as the Auburn Tigers, they get the outright SEC regular season championship. This one wasn't close at all. Auburn just absolutely takes Kentucky to the woodshed there at Rump. The final was 94-78. Miles Kelly, can't say enough. I mean, when you are banking shots in from behind the three-point arc, that's just, you're having a day. And he had a day. 30 points. He made 9 three-pointers. And the amazing part about this team, Landrum, and I know we talk about this incessantly, is the fact that when a certain player or two may not be having their best day, the depth of the Auburn roster, it continues to absolutely dominate the opposition because whether it's Denver Jones, whether it was Miles Kelly on Saturday, you didn't need to have Janai Broome go for a double-double. He only had 9 points, 1 point at halftime. So other dudes are stepping up, and that's going to play big for Auburn down the stretch.
Well, you think about tournament success, and people will tell you you want veteran guards who know how to shoot the basketball, especially when it comes into tournament play. Those are the guys you can lean on if you want to go back to Bryce Young or Bryce Brown and Jared Harper the year that Auburn made their Final Four run. It was experienced guards that can come up at any time. So having a guy like Miles Kelly, and I know that this isn't the first time that he's done it, but for him to do it, and we've seen what we've gotten from Denver Jones out of that position. Of course, Tahad Pettiford, he comes in and he seems like it's a totally different game when he gets in there. But having those guys, that deep bench that you mentioned, Pat, that's going to serve Auburn well. And when you can go in and you can go into Rupp Arena and dictate the tone and say, this is how it's going to go for us, you guys better keep up. That usually puts you and bodes well for you to have success.
Yeah, the defensive intensity for Auburn, they forced 18 turnovers by Kentucky, and Kentucky only hit 4 3-pointers. The Tigers only trailed for 19 seconds for the entire game. So with the win, Auburn clinched their 5th regular season SEC championship in program history, including a league best 3rd in the last 8 seasons. It was pretty cool watching that on social media as they were watching the end of the Alabama-Tennessee game. So we pivot quickly to what happened on Rocky Top. That was a game, Landrum, in which Alabama had the game won. If Alabama would have hit their free throws, this thing was not even going to be close in regards to the Tide being able to walk out of there. But they missed bunnies. They missed easy shots. And for the life of me, I just do not understand. This is a problem with this Alabama basketball team all year long, is trying to inbound underneath a basket. They've had constant problems with that. Why you had that situation go down like you did at the end of the game in Knoxville to allow the incredible shot by Meshack there to end the game for Tennessee. So Alabama loses, and they lose a little bit more than a game in the standings because according to Joe Lunardi and everybody else, Alabama now finds itself on the 2 line, and they got a little work to do. And, oh, by the way, you just got Florida and Auburn the last 2 games of the regular season.
Yeah, everything that you said about being able to hit free throws and that wins you a game, but it also goes back to Mark Sears. While he put up enough shots from outside the three-point arc, you had to have more guys that were going to be able to contribute and add to that stat line. And for him going 4 of 9 and the team knocking down 9, is that where this team is? Because where are you going to go and get points where you need them most, especially down the stretch? That's still a question for this Alabama basketball team, Pat, is who are you going to go to? Because last year it did feel like it was Mark Sears, but you had a couple of other guys. Now you're starting to question, is Mark Sears that guy at the end of a game?
Yeah, no, it's a legitimate question. And the fact that they got outscored 7-0 in the last 30 seconds of the game, and you don't block out on a free throw and you allow them another opportunity. It was just very sloppy at the end of the game. And
do you feel like this team's lost their mental swagger? Or is that just us as fans?
It's the fact that these are winnable games, especially the last couple of weeks, and they have not played very sharp basketball. And to be completely honest with you, I don't think that you can completely say that that's all on the players' back. I just don't know if Nate Oates is putting them in a position for success. And that's just my opinion. And some of these X's and O's and some of the things towards
certain things that you see, they're repeated things that keep happening. It's if you understand this is a deficiency of your basketball team, then to try to prevent it or coach around it as best you can. And maybe he's doing that.
Yeah. So, but it's just, Alabama led as much as 9 points in that game against Tennessee. The Vols hit 7 of 9 shots to tie the game with 6 minutes left. And then, of course, the game was back and forth until the final 30 seconds of the game. So Alabama now 23-6, 12-4 in the Southeastern Conference. Post-game quote from Nate Oates: "I was not good for the last 30 seconds today. I feel like I failed these guys for 39 and a half minutes. They outplayed them," end of quote. So Nate Oates taking responsibility for the way that Alabama finished down the spot. So here's the problem for Alabama. For a team that was, think about it, the week before the Auburn game, they were number 1 in America. It was a split number 1. Coaches poll had one, the AP had another one, but Alabama was number 1 in America. So if Alabama beats Florida, but then they lose to Auburn, and the rest of the chalk holds for the SEC, Bama is a 3 seed. Auburn is the 1, Tennessee 2, Florida is 4. That's important because if you're one of the top 4 teams, you are automatically playing in the quarterfinals on Friday. So you don't have to worry about anything until Friday. If Alabama loses to Florida, and I think it's a tough task to think that you're going to go into Neville Arena and beat Auburn, you're going to go 0-2 this week. So if you go 0-2 this week and the rest of the chalk holds, Alabama is going to be a 5 seed, which changes things dramatically in regards to what you're going to have to do, because you could be sitting there, instead of waiting till Friday, you're going to play Thursday. You could play the loser of Texas and Georgia, the winner of Texas, Georgia. And then if you win that game, then you're going to have to play Missouri, the team that's already beaten Alabama. So you want to get an automatic until Friday. So, but if you lose these next two games for Alabama, then all of a sudden things are changing dramatically. I don't think that they're going to get off the 2 line, but it is concerning if you're an Alabama fan looking at the way that this team is finishing, because all of a sudden, for most of the season, you were right there behind Auburn with quad 1 wins. Auburn is sitting there at 16-2. Alabama now has fallen to third best in the SEC in quad 1 wins with a 10-6 record.
Well, now you wonder not just about Alabama, and maybe it doesn't change your mindset going into the tournament, but for a team like Auburn right now, what are you doing if you know that you're comfortably on that 1 line? Let's say you split this week, or you lose both. If you're Bruce Pearl, what's your mindset going into Nashville? Because I'm hearing more people talk about it. I'm not saying throw it, but are you going full steam ahead for 3 straight days if you make it through the first 2 of the tournament, knowing that you got a quick turnaround?
Well, history would tell you last year that Alabama, I'm not saying they did it on purpose, but Florida took them to the woodshed, and it served Alabama opportunity to get rested.
Meanwhile, Auburn battled out. And
then you saw what happened in the NCAA tournament.
It was a weird game, but things like that happen.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope. I mean, you're trying to maintain your intensity.
Well, and go back to the year that Auburn was in the SEC championship game. They battled it out. They won that game, and then they had to fly out to Salt Lake City and take on a New Mexico State team in the first round that was ready to play, that was rested and comfortable and ready to go. And it took a missed 3, a candy cane look at 3 from the corner for Auburn to survive. It's just the way it goes. But
now that will be the major topic. I think Bruce Pearl will probably be asked that question a million times. You know, what do you do from here?
That's when you tell Turtle and Ja'Kai Howard and Pegues and
like you're playing at
kid from Mountain Brook.
Yeah, you're playing at Texas A&M. So, you know, A&M has fallen off the map the last 2 weeks. So, you know, you go down there, there's no doubt you're going to be up and fired up and just ready to make an even bigger statement on Saturday at the IBOB Part 2. No doubt. They'll be up for that. So not really putting much stock in whatever happens in College Station, but it's been a long season, a lot of bumps, a lot of bruises. You saw Broom leave the game and then come back. So, you know, you'd love to kind of get everybody some time off if possible. So
sorry, there's no Mountain Brook kids on the roster. Apparently that ended with Leor.
Oh, okay.
Like Mushalek is from Dallas, Texas. Trinity Christian. What's up? Shout out.
So Auburn gets the SEC regular season championship. Alabama is scuffling again. We'll see what happens this week as they got Florida and then Auburn and then the SEC tournament. This schedule has just been unbelievable.
It's been a doozy.
It's been something that I can't recall in any league. And even Dick Vitale was done. Dick Vitale's been around a long time. He was even talking about that on Saturday. He said he's just never seen something like this. It's just nuts.
It's crazy, baby.
Yeah. When we come back on 3-Man Front, we'll tell you what Joe Lunardi has right now in regards to the seating possibilities. We're going to hear from Conrad Van Order. He's in Tuscaloosa covering Alabama spring practice, as Kalen DeBoer is supposed to get behind the microphone in about 30 minutes from now. We are wide open. We'd love to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX, the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. Also a disappointing afternoon yesterday at Bartow as the Blazers fell to Memphis State. We'll get into all that next on 3-Man Front. We're in the middle of March Madness, and we've got college football kicking off all over the Southeastern Conference footprint. The Alabama Crimson Tide today, they practice this morning at 8:30. Coach Kalen DeBoer is going to meet with the media coming up in about 30 minutes from now. So we'll get Conrad Van Order. He is down there covering it live for us, so we will talk to him momentarily.
Well, there's still a lot of flu and sickness going around, so make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus, is 100 times more effective than standard air filters and 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. So go find a dealer near you at Trane.com.
Well, it was a missed opportunity yesterday for UAB to make a statement. Whether they won the game or lost it, UAB was not going to get any type of bid just because they beat Memphis. It's just the way the American Conference is this year, but it would have solidified yourself in a position for the conference tournament, just like we were talking about a minute ago about Alabama trying to be one of the top 4 seeds. Same for UAB. UAB needs to be one of the top 4 seeds. So, you can position yourself to hopefully not see Memphis until you get to maybe the championship game, or try to get as much time off as you can before you start playing. It looked good in the first half. UAB took a first half lead. By the way, the crowd was incredible, almost a complete sellout, almost 8,500 in attendance yesterday on the South Side. That was tremendous. It looked great on television, sounded great. UAB led by 5 with 10 minutes left, but the Tigers then went on a 13-1 run late. They outscored the Blazers 26-14 down the stretch. Memphis, Landrum, shot a blistering 67% in the second half against UAB. Lindeborg, who was on this program Friday, he only had 8 points. He stayed in foul trouble for most of the game. Jabora McGee had 22 points for UAB to lead the Blazers. So UAB now 19-10, 12-4 in the American. Their last home game is coming up Thursday night against a improved Florida Atlantic team that first part of the season did not play well, but they have played much better as of late.
Yeah, UAB, not enough Yaxel Lindeborgs out there. And you saw what Memphis did. And not only with Danga, but they had another 2 guys. It was kind of a 3-hitter monster, and they chose, all right, we're going to take away or make things as difficult as we can on Yaxel Lindeborg and try to get him into foul trouble. Obviously, that played a big part in the limited minutes there towards the end of the first half, but also parts of the second half that Andy Kennedy was able to play him. This is a UAB basketball team, I think, Pat, that they can be very good. But can they be very good consistently for 3 days? That's what we're going to have to find out.
Yeah, and they've definitely played much better over the course of the last month of the season. It was just unfortunate because they had Memphis on the ropes. I mean, UAB's 1-3-1 pressure was just absolutely giving Memphis all sorts of fits. But the athleticism, that's a very deep bench for Memphis. It paid off there in the second half. Meanwhile, Samford, they lose their final regular season game to UNC Greensboro, 108-100. So Samford now is the 4 seed in the SoCon tournament. They will play Saturday against the 5 seed. That is a 7:30 tip-off. So last year, if you're looking for a comparison for Samford, they finished 15-3 in the SoCon. This year, they finished 12-6 in the SoCon. So again, nothing's changed for Samford or UAB by them losing on Saturday. They're going to have to win their conference tournament to make the NCAA tournament. So nothing has changed, but you would like to have seen both of those teams gain a little bit of momentum as they get ready for postseason basketball. Joe Lunardi, as soon as those games ended on Saturday, he basically said going into the Alabama-Tennessee game that the loser of that game was going to, Tennessee was already on the 2 line. But if Tennessee won, they would be on the 1 line. Bama would fall to 2. That's exactly what took place. So now the question in the SEC is what happens to all these teams, like Arkansas, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Texas. Yesterday morning on ESPN, Joe Lunardi had this to say about the upcoming week in the SEC, including Bama versus Florida.
Well, at the top of the bracket, we hinted at Florida and Alabama. This is Alabama's gauntlet down the stretch. At Tennessee, Florida at home, at Auburn, and then I think they play the Celtics. No, I mean, who's left? But so that game is kind of a play-in Florida, Alabama, to stay in the hunt for a 1 seed. I think at the end of the day, the ones will be Auburn, Duke, Houston, and whoever survives that SEC threesome. That's Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night, we'll go back to the bubble and go Texas and Mississippi State. Texas just looked cooked against Oklahoma on Saturday. I don't know if it was a hangover, but they've got to find a way to win a big-time road game and get themselves back on the right side of the conversation.
So you heard it there. Basically, he's saying the winner of Alabama, Florida will still loosely be in a conversation for a number 1 seed. That's what they're saying. Now, whether that's going to happen or not, we will have to wait and see. So as of this moment, according to Joe Lunardi, Arkansas, last 4 byes, they're in the tournament.
Okay.
Georgia is part of the last 4 in.
Okay.
Oklahoma is the absolutely last team in.
Kind of surprised about Oklahoma.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
And then Texas is the first team out. So that's how close the margins are for Oklahoma and for Texas. So Arkansas in, Georgia in, Oklahoma last team in, Texas first team out, according to Joe Lunardi. The SEC would then have 13 teams.
It's crazy.
As of this moment in the SEC basketball tournament. So what took place over the weekend that caused that kind of change in what Lunardi was talking about? Well, you had Ole Miss beating Oklahoma. Padula goes off for 26 points. Oklahoma loses another close game. Think about this last week for Oklahoma, Molly. They had 2 losses by a grand total of 4 points. That's what this Oklahoma fan base is having to go through. So Ole Miss takes out Oklahoma. You got Arkansas that had all that momentum.
Mm-hmm.
They go on the road and play a team that had 1 conference win, 1. And South Carolina, it wasn't even close. Arkansas scored 14 total points in the first half.
Woo.
Against South Carolina. They were 3 of 24 from the field. They missed 21 shots in the first half, and it was too much to overcome. And so South Carolina beats Arkansas, so that now puts Arkansas.
They get a second win in conference.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird for Arkansas. Mississippi State beats LSU, no big surprise. Then you got Vandy winning in overtime against Mizzou. So all of a sudden, the doors are hitting their stride as we're getting closer. Georgia takes out Texas, and then Florida beats a very struggling Texas A&M team right now. So as you take a look at the current Quad 1 records for these teams, Auburn 16-2, Tennessee 10-5, Bama 10-6, Kentucky 9-9, Mississippi State 7-8, Florida 6-4, A&M 6-7, Mizzou 6-8, Vandy 5-8, Ole Miss 5-9. So I guess, Molly, it comes down to the fact that Oklahoma is still in because they're 5-10 in Quad 1 games.
I was about to say their non-con schedule at the beginning of the season was pretty solid, but what are they now, 4-12 in conference?
4-12 in the SEC.
That's what shocks me about OU.
Yeah, but Arkansas is 4-9 in Quad 1 games. Same record as Texas. Georgia, they're 4-11 in Quad 1 games, but they're currently in. And then you got, of course, South Carolina and LSU with only 1 Quad 1 win apiece. So that's kind of the way they're looking right now from an SEC perspective. You're going to have an opportunity next week, Landrum, once you get to Nashville, to potentially get a few more Quad 1 wins. But, you know, those teams are on the bubble right now. It is a tough road to hold for them, especially a team like Oklahoma.
Think about a team like North Carolina, though.
Still with 1 Quad 1 win, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But 42nd in the overall net rankings, 19-11 overall, 1-10 in Quad 1 games. Are we still talking about them on the bubble?
They've got them squarely in the tournament. I know.
It's going to be hard to fire your coach if he keeps making the tournament.
Yeah, you gave him a contract extension, so
yeah,
you know he's.
It's the old vote of assurance, right?
Yep, it sure is. So
somebody's people told you no.
Yeah, I liked what Joe Lunardi said on Saturday. He said that Auburn could forfeit the rest of their games during the regular season, and they would still be the overall number 1 seed.
Yeah.
It's that dominant.
Just saying, Bruce, if your guys are a little leg weary, it's out there.
I mean, 16-2 in quad one. You're 5-0 in quad two, so you're 21-2.
That's remarkable.
In the quad one and I mean, seriously, we will never see that kind of number. I think again.
Well, it's almost like the resume that they put out there. If you're an Auburn fan, you want to just squarely go ahead and start them in the Elite Eight.
And not even mess with all the other stuff.
Yeah. Not saying that you can't get beat before that, but if you're an Auburn fan, you feel like, you know what? 16-2 in quad one games, that's pretty solid. That should put you in the field of 8.
It should.
Not the way it works, though.
No.
No, it is not.
It's going to be a fun March.
Very much so. When we come back on three-man front, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in the ACC. There is a bit of breaking news this morning. It appears that an end is in sight with the Florida State Clemson situation. We'll give you an update there next on three-man front. Kalen DeBoer will be speaking with the media. Practice number 1 in spring, his second spring. It's hard to believe, right? Second year at the Capstone. He will speak with the media hopefully in the next 15 to 20 minutes, and we will try to carry those comments either live or in its entirety a little bit later in the show. But Conrad Van Order is live on the scene. He's been texting me saying that no sign of Kalen DeBoer in the building yet, so maybe practice ran a little bit longer, but We will have a full report from Tuscaloosa coming up later in the show.
Well, when I was out west on vacation last week, had so many people that stopped and they said, "Oh my gosh, you look incredible. How did you do it?" And I said, "Well, I did Mandu in downtown Homewood." Thank you for asking. Mandu in downtown Homewood, it's electrical muscle stimulation fitness. That's right. All the technology, they're going to put you in a suit. They're going to hook you up to a machine that sends electric pulses to various parts of your body, whether you're trying to add muscle, whether you're trying to lose fat, just overall feel better. Different levels, different exercises that you can do. The best thing about Mandu, 15 minutes. It's a 15-minute workout, 15 minutes of your very busy day, and you can still feel better about yourself at the end of the day. Mandu in downtown Homewood, your first visit is free. MANDUU.com. Make sure you tell them Landrum from 3-Man Front sent you.
So a story broke this morning from multiple outlets, both in Florida and around college football, that the ACC and its two restless members, Clemson and Florida State, are inching closer to finalizing a settlement that can allow for the league schools to buy back years of their media grant of rights and allow for defections from the conference earlier from the current 2036 timeframe. Now, in exchange for that, they're dropping their lawsuits. And on top of that, the ACC is going to restructure how they pay the schools. It's going to be based on television eyeballs. It's going to be based on viewership. It's going to be over a 5-year running average. So as of this morning, multiple media outlets are reporting that the ACC presidents are going to be voting on this, whether it's today or early tomorrow morning. Matter of fact, Florida State has already scheduled a Board of Trustees meeting tomorrow to review the potential settlement. So with all this being said, Landrum, it appears that the situation between the ACC and those schools are at least going to pacify those two schools. But my biggest question is, once you start reading through the fine print, what does that actually mean for the likes of the Boston colleges and the Syracuses of the world that, let's just be honest, don't bring a lot of football revenue to the table?
I was thinking more so, at least with Boston College and Syracuse, the geographic footprint of where you are, maybe that brings more eyeballs in football. But I was thinking more like a Wake Forest or one of these other schools that you're never going to be the bell cow, even on good years, and you got everybody in your fan base that's passionate and tuning in every Saturday.
Cal.
Yeah, Cal. Another great example. I don't know what ultimately this means for those teams, because if right now I'm Vanderbilt and I realize that they had a better year and they had a cool story with Diego Pavia this past year, Pat, but if I'm Vanderbilt, I'm going, whew, I'm really glad that we have the situation we do in the Southeastern Conference.
The schools, each having filed suit against the conference over the last 15 months, have been engrossed in negotiations with the ACC in an effort to increase the revenue that the league distributes to them, as well as see the grant of rights shortened, amended, and clarified in some way. The settlement is expected to define the penalty fee that the school would owe for breaking the grant of rights, an agreement that binds the ACC schools together through 2036. That's the other fine print I want to see. I want to see, ultimately, let's say Florida State 3 years from now, they're ticked off and they're still $30 million behind an SEC school and they want to leave. What is the price tag going to be?
Yeah.
Because apparently they are now willing, with probably hundreds of millions of dollars already spent from the ACC league office in legal fees and what FSU and Clemson folks have spent in legal fees. I just want to see what that end number is going to look like as compared to what it's supposed to look like right now.
Well, yeah, we're all going to be curious. It's obviously, though, something that Florida State people feel good about, or they feel better about what this new deal than their current situation. Was not a good one, albeit. But does this just kick the can down the road? Are you leaving an avenue for escape or a parachute for a Florida State or for a Clemson? If, like you said, Pat, in a couple of years, everybody else just keeps getting richer, and then that gap, that deficit with some of the other bell cows in the other leading conferences, they're passing you by.
Well, here's the thing. So it's, is the tail wagging the dog? Because if you don't have a good product on the field,
right,
people are not going to watch your product.
No, that now is not the time to have Florida State football going through 2-win seasons.
No, it's not. Now, meanwhile, Clemson is expected to be a top 5 team next year with who they have coming back. And obviously, they're going to be a team that will probably have plenty of eyeballs watching each and every Saturday. But, if you're looking over a 5-year roll average, I mean, that could be problematic unless you increase your dollars on what you spend on NIL and
Yep.
spend it wisely to where you've got a good product where people would be willing to watch it. There's not much in the ACC that was worth watching this previous year.
No. And if you want to go to basketball and where a lot of the league's talent went from basketball last season to this season, look at the SEC rosters.
But see, I'm already seeing the ACC apologists out there, the people that prop this league up all the time in both football and basketball. I'm already seeing the crap that they've been putting on social media about how this model that the ACC is going to release, it's nothing like it in the history of college sports. This is going to be the model that every other league is going to copy. And I'm like, really? So Jim Phillips is going to be the brainiac that comes up to all this, not Tony Petitti or Greg Sankey? Like, come on. I mean, this is a stopgap filler. At the end of the day, if Clemson and Florida State, they're going to be happy enough to sign off on this because if they do want to get out, they're going to get out and they're going to get out at a cheaper route, period.
Yep. Just keeps them on the roster at least for a couple more years.
You're kicking the can down the road.
Yep.
Because I don't see even in this, because you're going to have to take from Peter to pay Paul. And to do that, schools like Wake Forest and Boston College and Syracuse and Virginia Tech and those schools, California, they're going to have to pay the piper. I mean, they're the ones that are ultimately going to potentially have to give away some of their monies to make sure that the likes of Clemson and Florida State are happy. And there's a reason why the Big Ten and the SEC give full shares to all those teams. Now, a couple of those teams in the Big Ten, they're not going to be full shares for a couple of years, but you know, Vanderbilt gets as much as Alabama does. Georgia gets as much as Texas does. That's just the way it is in the Southeastern Conference. And now you are going to, you know, produce a model in which the top teams in your league are going to get paid more than the others. That ultimately led to the downfall of the Southwest Conference, the Big 8 Conference, the Big 12 Conference, because that's what Texas got. Texas got more money than everybody else. And that created a canyon between all the other schools. And that ultimately led to those leagues having a downfall.
But ultimately, what you're pushing for in the football playoff model is equality. But based on how your revenue works, it's not equality. Or is it? So the people who are actually bringing the more eyeballs, bringing in the dollars, and that's who get paid.
Yeah. We're going to go to Tuscaloosa, hopefully in the next couple of minutes, and hear from Kalen DeBoer. I do understand that he's running a little bit late this morning.
Unacceptable. He's already late for a meeting.
This first presser, and he's already late. Nick Saban was never late.
No,
he was
there'll be no ice cream today.
Yeah, like clockwork. There is a report out there that we're going to get some bad weather tomorrow night, some heavy winds. And so that means that you need to be ready. And if you're a property owner, you need to make sure that those trees on your property are taken care of. That's why Golston Tree Service, very important that you remember this phone number and put it in your phone. Save it. Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4018. Family owned and operated for over 35 years. No job is too big or too small. I've been telling you that for months. More importantly, they have the 24-hour emergency storm work number. And that number is 205-337-4018. They can help you immediately in the middle of the night. Whatever situation happens on your property, hopefully not on your house or a car, but if it does take place, don't be worried because you got Golston Tree Service ready to react immediately. 205-337-4018. That is Golston Tree Service.
A lot of your texts here on this Reaction Monday. We'll get to those texts. 205-834-9450. Landrum, Pat, Molly, Conrad. Three-man front and Jocks, 94.5.
Well, it was announced on Friday that Alabama football, yes, they're having an A-Day game. It is going to be free to the public, but it will not be on broadcast. No word yet on anything that Auburn potentially will or will not do, but Alabama went ahead and joined the likes of many others in regards to changing the way that they're going about their A-Day activity. So Auburn's a couple of weeks away from starting their practice. There was some news on Friday. Our thoughts and prayers are with Auburn football coach Hugh Freeze as he's been diagnosed with early-stage prostate cancer. The school announced on Friday Freeze is expected to continue his normal coaching duties. It's very important, just like the Mike Slive Foundation has tried to educate the public in regards to if you're a male, important to have yearly checkups and have PSAs done in regards. So that is really positive news in regards to them being able to find this early, and so that assists him in regards to his treatment, and so they believe that he will be able to have a full recovery. So that is good news.
Yeah, early detection. That's what we talk about and preach to us by professionals or people who have experienced with it. So, yeah, certainly thoughts and prayers with Coach Freeze and his family as they work through this health issue. 205-834-9450 on the Jocks text line. A lot of your texts coming in. This one reads, Calipari is done. Done. Finished.
Listen to this quote from him after the loss. We're undermanned. Adu, Thero, Boogie Flan were out. No one wants to hear that, but it makes it so we can't have 3 of our 7 play poorly. I can't make trades. I can't pick up anybody on the wire. This is who it is. How do we make this work? End of quote.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
You lost 72 to 53.
Every other coach after a loss can say. We can't have 3 of our 7 not. No, you're going to need all of them.
I understand injuries are part of the game, but who put that roster together?
That would be the guy who just gave that soundbite.
Wasn't it like kind of understood throughout college basketball that's Ty Richardson was on this program and said that this is one of the largest rosters in regards to budget, right? Pretty high up there.
Yep. So maybe instead of paying a lot more for that one guy, you should have gotten 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
That you could have played more than 7.
I mean, the Gamecocks were 1-14 before that game.
And you got beat by 20.
You scored 14 points in the first half.
Goodness gracious.
You missed 21 shots in the first half.
Oh, the text read on, Thomas, heartbroken for the UAB loss against Memphis. Yep. That was a tough one. Back at it, though. FAU, senior night on Thursday. DJ Pip, we should have called a timeout on that inbound at the end of the half. Guess going back to UAB. This one towards Alabama. When it comes to the fundamentals, some would say Alabama is a poorly coached team. Fundamental basketball. Would you be one of those some?
No, I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that some of the X's and O's leave a lot of questions at times, especially I'm just using the inbounds. I mean, there's been multiple games this year. It was like playing LSU at home. I remember countless times trying to inbound it under the goal. They had problems getting the ball in. That's one area. Maybe they don't do a lot of practice time on that. I don't know.
Josh in Huntsville, what a great weekend. Auburn wins in Lexington for the first time since I was -9 years old, and Bama chokes to give us the outright SEC regular season win. And Landrum's back today. Amazing. Thank you, Josh. -9 years old. 1988. That's a long time ago. Would that be second to Auburn not winning in Gainesville in forever?
Yeah.
Another one coming in. Auburn was 100% punished for winning the SEC tournament. I've said it all year. If Chad Baker-Mazara is ejected against Mississippi State in the SEC tournament, Auburn loses that game. Bruce has to address CBM behavior. We get an extra day of rest and don't lose to Yale. Everybody remembers that Yale game. Steve from Tuscaloosa says, can we get some Carry On Some Wayward Son by Kansas? Hashtag Molly Rock.
Molly Rock.
I can do that.
And Johnny says, Arkansas in after the loss Saturday is a joke. I agree.
Yeah, I just, some of these, maybe these other leagues are having teams that are supposed bubble teams. Maybe they're not stepping up either, but man, I'm telling you, to continue to have Oklahoma in there with 4 quad 1 wins.
If Bama beats Florida and Auburn this week, I know it's a long shot, but do you think Bama goes back to the one line in the NCAA tournament? Tim from Rosa. Where's that Rosa?
If Alabama beats Florida and then they beat and then they beat Auburn, then Alabama's on the one line.
Yes.
But if you lose to Florida and then you beat Auburn, I don't know.
I don't think that gets you back on there.
I don't either.
Robert texts in, Auburn has not gotten out of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament since 2019's Final Four run. Dum better and friends better not be making reservations for San Antonio just yet. Well, who dum-dums are. Landrum, the most important thing you missed last week. Conrad, a grown man, can't change a tire.
That is true.
He can't change a tire.
Yeah, he had some type of tire issue and couldn't go to Florida to visit his dad and had to call his wife to save him. So
she can change the tire.
Apparently so.
He can't. Okay. CJ and Trustful.
You try to digest that?
I can't. Really? When do we start looking at Nate Oates? CJ wants to know. If Bruce Pearl coaches Bama, they win Saturday. This Bama team is so inconsistent, I predict they will not go far in the NCAA tournament.
I tell you what, if they don't go very far in the NCAA tournament, he better get ready for some heavy criticism. I mean, I know before this Auburn team, it's Final Four or bust. And we've said it before on the show that with this Alabama roster, I mean, they were preseason ranked number 2 in America with this roster. And you don't get to the Elite 8 at least. Don't you think the Elite 8 is what this team, that it would be a serious disappointment if you get bounced out before the Sweet 16 or in the Sweet 16?
Yeah. And the only thing more embarrassing would be not being able to change the tire.
Well, that's really bothering you.
Posey says, Barnes tried calling a timeout for Bama. Refs didn't give it to him.
Who was trying to?
Rick Barnes.
I will say this, and this is not why Alabama lost. But the officiating in college basketball in general, call it one way or another. If you're going to let them play football, let them play football the whole game. If you're going to be ticky-tack and call hand checking.
Do it the whole game.
Absolutely.
Don't do it when somebody changes their bet at halftime.
Exactly. I mean, I saw that in the UAB game yesterday. I mean, there was a segment where both Memphis and UAB had phantom calls made against them. And then all of a sudden, then you're letting them tackle each other. Then you're letting guys slam dunk and then yell stuff at the other team and they don't get texts. I mean,
then you wonder why it's getting chippy in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, just be consistent. And Don Daly, he reffed the Tennessee-Alabama game, and then he turned around yesterday and reffed the UAB-Memphis game, and he's supposed to be the crew chief. And let's just say the inconsistencies that you saw in Alabama-Tennessee were the exact same you saw yesterday from Memphis and UAB. It was crazy. Just be consistent. Because you go into a baseball game and you got a home plate umpire, you know this guy likes low ball strikes. This guy is not going to give you the corners.
Yeah.
You know what you've got going into a game. But when these refs decide that we're going to call it ticky-tack or we're going to like let these guys play physical, and then all of a sudden the last 2 minutes you change. That's not consistency, and that's what drives me crazy. I've said it for years when it comes to basketball officiating. It is the most inconsistent of any officiating in any sport. You might not like what you see in Major League Baseball or college baseball, but the book is out on those individual home plate umpires and other umpires, the way that they call things.
Tim reminding us that he bets Bucky can change a tire. Yeah.
Maybe Bucky's the one that changed the tire.
Oh. Oh. We'll get to that in the next hour. 3-man front. Keep the text rolling in. Some of you are spicy today. Another hour. More college football news. Conrad Van Order at some point from Tuscaloosa, reporting from Alabama's spring practice. That and more. 3-man front on this Monday. Jocks 94.5, JocksFM.com, the Jocks 94.5 app, and wherever you stream.
Welcome in. It's hour number 2 of 3-Man Front. This is Reaction Monday. 1-800-239-WJOX. 205-834-9450. Pat Smith along with Landrum Roberts. Conrad Van Order down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Molly Robinson with you until 2 o'clock. We're wide open today because we want to hear from you. A very busy weekend going on in college basketball. We also had the NFL Combine wrapping up. The Alabama Crimson Tide football team, they had practice this morning, their first practice of the second year under Kalen DeBoer of spring practice. It's crazy to say that it's already been a full year now that he has been in Tuscaloosa. Alabama loses a tough one in Tennessee over the weekend. That now drops them on the 2 line. Meanwhile, the Auburn Tigers, they win in Rupp Arena. The first time that they can say that they've walked out of there with a win since 1988. It ended a 20-game losing streak at Rupp Arena as Auburn wins outright the Southeastern Conference Championship. UAB takes it on the chin yesterday. Big crowd, 8,400 in attendance. But unfortunately for the Blazers, they lose to Memphis 88-81. Samford loses on Saturday 108-100. So Samford is now locked in as the 4 seed in the SoCon Men's Basketball Championship. They will await number 5 Furman. That is a 7:30 tip-off on Saturday. So, we've already had the Atlantic Sun. They got their conference tournament underway yesterday. You're going to have more conferences kind of work their way into it over the next couple of days. Did you happen to see the bracket for the Sun Belt tournament? Are you aware of what they are doing?
No.
This is unbelievable, and I cannot wait to see if other conferences take advantage of it. I want you to pull it up on your computer. If you have not seen it, the listeners need to do a Google search. I know we got a lot of listeners listening on Jock 740 down in Montgomery. And obviously, Troy in South Alabama is Sunbelt Conference members. Do you see what they've done there, Landrum?
I do.
If you have not seen it, the best way that I can describe it is if you're a number 1 or a number 2 seed, you are automatically put into the semifinals of the Sunbelt tournament, which is being played in Pensacola. Now, if you are the 4 lowest seeds in the tournament, which means you're the 4 worst teams in the league, you have to win 7 games to get an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. You heard me right, folks. 7. So think of it this way. The 4 weakest teams in the league, they play each other. And then if you advance, then you're going to end up playing the next 2 weakest teams, and then it's staggered. I mean, is that the best way how would you best describe it?
Yeah. No, it's a ton of games, but
I'll use this as an example. So you got the 10 seed and the 9 seed, they will await the winners of the 2 other games that have the weakest teams. Well, then whoever wins those games, then you would have to play either the 7 or the 8 seed. So basically they are eliminating, like put it in the SEC parlance, they're eliminating the likes of the top teams in the league having to play multiple games before the championship.
correct.
That's what they're doing. They've minimalized it in regards to your top seeds having to play so many. And what they're doing is they're protecting away from a bid stealer.
Yes.
It's exactly what they're doing. But
I don't mind this so much.
my question is, do you think other leagues will? I think there was another league somewhere that has this very similar. They just don't have as many teams as the Sun Belt.
But is there another league where you would need this? Or they're seeing this as a problem for bid stealers in past years with the SEC, but just by virtue of the number of teams that they're going to get in, would they even fool with it?
Yeah, because most of the time the SEC tournament, the hay's in the barn.
Right.
In regards to who's going to make the NCAA tournament. So you really don't need to do that. What they're trying to do, and it's smart in my opinion, is because you go through a whole season and you're like, okay, your top 2 teams, why do they need to play on, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday 3 days in a row? You give them a bye all the way to the semifinals. I just never seen them do this before.
Yeah, we don't need to see 1 seed versus 9 seed at this point in the tournament. It's basically the way that it's it's laying out. I don't hate it at all. And I'm sure those coaches of those teams, they don't hate it either.
No. Because again, you're trying to protect your league from losing one of your top teams to another.
And maybe if you did this when we're talking about, and we haven't heard Bruce Pearl say anything about it, but if you are the top team in the SEC and you win your league, your regular season title, you're going to be the 1 seed in the tournament. Are you thinking about how many minutes your guys are logging if you're assured to be a number 1 seed?
I just never seen it before.
But would it come into question as much if you knew you only had to play 2 games ultimately,
right,
to win a conference tournament championship?
I mean, because when you look at that bracket, you're like,
yeah,
ooh. So you have to win. Think about this: you have to win 7 games to make it to the NCAA tournament. If you are there's seeds. If you're an 11, 12, 13, or 14 seed in the Sun Belt Conference, you have to win 7 games to go to the NCAA tournament. And then, by the way, when you get to the NCAA tournament, you're more than likely not going to have a play-in game, more than likely. Then you would have to win 6 games to win the national championship. So that's 13 games. You got to win 13 games in a row to win the national championship.
God, just to get to the conference championship game, if you've played that many games.
Yeah.
Cool. Maybe it gets done this year.
Now, that'd be a heck of a story if someone is able to do that.
Come on, Coastal Carolina.
So you got Southern Miss and Coastal Carolina. They've got the first game coming up, and that is on March the 4th. So that's tomorrow from Pensacola. And then you've got ULM and Louisiana at 7:30 tomorrow night. And then you'll have 2 more games the next night, then 2 more. So basically, you've got a doubleheader every night until you.
Loving that if I'm stadium personnel.
Yeah.
Some extra money.
Yeah. Absolutely. 1-800-239-WJOX. Conrad is in the practice. They have moved the press conference. So, they're getting them situated now. I'm getting that information. Yeah, real-time updates from Conrad. So they're in the building, and so now they've moved them around a little bit. So we will hopefully hear from Conrad here once this concludes, and then we'll have some sound, whether it's being streamed live or not. If so, we will share that with you.
800-239-WJOX, Reaction Monday. Let's go to Curtis. Curtis, welcome in.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, I just have a couple of quick questions. First of all, what constitutes a quad 1 win? And can a team start out the season in a quad 1, and can they fall out of quad 1 as the season progresses? That's my first question.
All right, let me answer that. Let me answer
Okay.
that quickly. Yes, a team can go in and out of the quad. A quad 1 win is a definition of a team that is ranked 1 through 30, and if you beat them at home, that's a quad 1 win. Now, if you play them on a neutral site, if you're 1 through 50 in the net ranking, that's a quad 1 win. And if you go on the road, if they're ranked 1 through 75, that is also a quad 1 win. And then from there, from there it staggers what a quad 2, quad 3, and a quad 4 definition is. But that is the quad 1 definition. It's like Auburn. Auburn had a quad 1 win that fell to a quad 2 win because as these teams fluctuate in and out of the net rankings, that changes.
True. And the reason I asked this, guys, is that everybody's saying Bama's 10-6 in quad 1 wins.
Correct.
But as we all know, the UNC win doesn't look near as good now. The Creighton win definitely doesn't look as good. And not to mention the Oregon loss looks awful at this point, considering they're like at the bottom 4 or 5 in the Big Ten at this point. So I guess how much can we keep putting weight on Alabama's schedule when the teams, as the season progressed, the teams did not do as well as initially thought they would? And I can hang up and just listen to y'all's input and reaction to that, okay? Great show as always.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Curtis.
Thank you very much. No, that's a really good point. I mean, you schedule these non-cons, like prime example, Illinois, right? Like you sign up and you got Illinois and you took out Illinois. But look what Illinois is doing now. They're struggling in the Big Ten. They're not even a ranked team.
Yeah. Well, and the same with Auburn. They had Ohio State earlier in the season, and that was a hard Ohio State team that started fading. The thing with the SEC, though, that's so good that teams can rest on this year is the league and how it's perceived and where it is nationally, as opposed to maybe some other years. It's considered to be the best and the toughest and the deepest in all of America. So I don't know how much Alabama has to lean on that non-conference schedule. I think that they've proved what they need to prove in the eyes of the committee. Now it's just splitting hairs. Are they that fourth best one team on that one line, or are they the number one best two team on that two line?
Think about this. So the Big Ten is considered this year as the second best basketball conference behind the SEC. Their highest ranked net team is Michigan State, who had a big win yesterday against Wisconsin. They're number one in the Big Ten. They're 11 in the net. The Big Ten, the second best basketball conference in the country, and their highest ranked net ranking is Michigan State at 11. That just shows you how dominating the Southeastern Conference has been based on the net rankings and these quad one wins, because the league is so deep that every single Tuesday or Wednesday night, there are plenty of opportunities for teams to get quad one wins. And that's what's happening. I mean, when you take a look at the Southeastern Conference, where it currently stands, and we all know that the net rankings get heavy use in regards to what goes on with the committee. You've got Auburn 1, Florida 4, Tennessee 5, Bama 6, and then you've got Missouri 13. So you've got 4 SEC teams that are ahead of the first Big Ten team that is listed. It's just, we've never seen anything like this, and I hope I'm wrong here, Landrum, but I just don't know if we'll ever see this again with a conference being this
the way
deep.
that this stacks up, it'd be tough. I'm just thinking about a team like Kentucky that's right now 15th in the net. And I don't know, do you view them as a 4 seed or 3 seed?
No, and they got bad news, losing a player now for the rest of the year. He's going to have surgery. No, I do not. I mean, to me, nothing has changed in regards to Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Bama, perhaps maybe Missouri, based on their hot shooting, because we've seen it a couple times this year in conference play with them. I think those are the teams that I think would have a legitimate shot of getting hot and maybe getting to an Elite Eight, Final Four. Is there anybody else on there you see?
No, not necessarily. But my opinion could be skewed these last couple of weeks of the season. And there's different things going on with different teams. Some of them run out of gas. They'll get a second win come tournament time. But that's what makes March Madness so much fun, whether it's championship week, the conference tournament, or when we get started into the big daddy of them all, if I can still call it that. Maybe one day we'll get more teams in, Pat.
I'm hoping for 14 SEC teams.
We're talking about play-in day today. That's the way it works.
Yeah. Did you hear Mark Pope over the weekend where he says that college basketball does not play enough games? He actually said this. He said that in his opinion, they should play half in the regular season of what the NBA plays. The NBA plays 82 regular season games. He thinks college basketball should play 41 regular season games. He goes, I know I'm the only person probably in my profession that is saying that, but he says that college basketball should have a longer season.
He's never written a green and gold report, has he?
No, he is not. No, we was a very busy green and gold report yesterday.
I'm just saying sometimes.
Spring sports are,
You get a little bit more.
Yeah.
A little bit more fodder.
Yeah. Yeah, but there was still some stuff on the cutting room floor yesterday. That's right. Yeah, too much.
You save that one? Is that evergreen?
My favorite part is when I put it all together. Okay. Then I get the text or an email from DC. Hey, got an interview. Got this, got that.
Scrap everything you just did.
Need to pare it back some. Because usually I like to.
That's when you just get the green report. You don't get the gold.
Yeah, you just don't get the gold version. You just get the green version. But that's the one when I try to, you've been there. You go, halftime. You'd like to use the facilities. You would like to maybe grab some popcorn or a soft drink, kind of recharge your batteries over that 15-minute halftime segment. So, I like to kind of give him what he needs.
You're such a supportive studio husband.
I try to do what I can.
Yes.
All right. I understand that they're getting close to meeting with the media down in Tuscaloosa. Conrad Van Order is down there live for 3-Man Front and Jocks 94.5. We hope to hear from him and maybe Coach DeBoer as well. This is 3-Man Front on Reaction Monday, Jocks 94.5. It is 11:20 on this Monday, Reaction Monday. The gang's all back together. Landrum, Molly, Conrad's in Tuscaloosa. We'll hear from him in just a little bit. Pat Smith here with you until 2 o'clock. The phone lines are open at 1-800-239-WJOX. The text line 205-834 9450. I will have to admit that I was so basketball centric this weekend, Landrum, and I know you were traveling for most of the weekend. I did not get to consume as much of the NFL Combine as I have in the past, but I am looking in front of me a list of winners and losers from the Combine. And I'm seeing a couple Texas players being winners. A couple Mizzou players were winners. Arkansas player, Kentucky, South Carolina, A&M. A lot of SEC guys improved their stock over the weekend. But I want to concentrate on the losers.
Yeah.
Not the winners. Let's talk about the losers. Now, this is according to USA Today. So just going to go ahead and throw that out there. There's going to be a lot of opinions of who the winners and losers are, but I'm just going to concentrate on this list by USA Today. The number one player listed on their loser list was Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond, former Alabama wide receiver. If you remember going into the Combine, Bond talked a big game about breaking Xavier Worthy's record on the 40. He came up short. There were also concerns about the Texas wide receiver's consistency after a down final year in college. A lot of positivity was pinned on his deep speed, but now that's in question after his 40-yard dash performance. He was very braggadocious last week that he was going to break all sorts of records, and it just did not happen. Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter, if you remember heading into the Combine, there was some talk that he might be the number one overall pick, and unfortunately for Carter, in a medical examination, they found out that he's going to need foot surgery. So that kind of dinged him up. It wasn't something that he did or did not do in the Combine. It was the fact that they found out he was injured. Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham is another one that's on the losers list. How about this one? Dylan Gabriel, quarterback from Oregon. This is what USA Today wrote. There weren't many quarterbacks who participated in the Combine. Gabriel did, and his accuracy didn't compare well with the others in the class. His average arm strength meant he needed a longer windup for deeper shots, and they were not as accurate as other throwers in Indianapolis. How about safety Malachi Starks from the University of Georgia? He did not test well. Starks' 10-yard split was good, but his 40-yard dash time was 4.5 seconds, was lackluster compared to his film. So that is surprising because, Malachi Starks is one of the guys that they believe will be the first maybe DB taken in the draft. Quarterback Will Howard from The Ohio State University. He struggled with accuracy as well as missed multiple downfield passes. Of the handful of prospects who participated in athletic drills, Howard was the worst in the broad jump and vertical jump. Offensive tackle Will Campbell from LSU, his measurables, which a lot of people talked about before he got to Indianapolis. That is a concern on many teams about him playing tackle. Maybe he's going to have to move to the inside. But how about this one? They listed the entire Senior Bowl as a loser. Why, you ask? Because, just reading directly, this All-Star game is often the first major event ahead of the NFL draft before the Combine. It gives teams and other scouts a chance to see prospects out of the context of their college teams and in more isolated reps. They also take measurements at the Senior Bowl, but this year's figures weren't adding up compared to the NFL Combine. Take, for instance, quarterback from Alabama, Jalen Milroe. It was amazing. He goes to Mobile and he averages 8.34 on his hand. Then all of a sudden at the Combine, his hand grew to 9.38 inches.
Yeah. I mean,
I said hand. His hand grew, Landrum. It wasn't shrinkage because it was cold water at Mobile, I guess. I don't know.
Where was this phenomena around when Kyler Murray was going through his draft process?
Or baby hands Pickett.
Hi, Kenny. Yes, this baby hands.
So how do you go from 8.834 inches at Senior Bowl and now you're 9.38 inches? How does that happen?
I don't know.
Are they using metrics or something? And they converted it? I don't know. I was just told when I was in elementary school, I better get ready because metrics was going to be.
That's like the difference in a dog paw and a zebra hoof.
Yeah. So it's been a rough couple weeks for the Senior Bowl. You lose your executive director to become the director of player personnel for the Oklahoma Sooners. And now you're being chastised because you can't measure people's.
Well, was
right.
that the only instance?
I think there was a couple others.
Was it?
But I think that was
because
the one that was.
To get the results that we got, if that trend continued, that would be good for the NFL players going to the combine.
Yeah.
Hands get bigger, get a little bit taller.
Mm-hmm.
40 time, a little bit faster.
Yep.
Good for Jalen.
I just never heard that.
Let's measure them again.
Because when your hands are in water, you get all pruned up, right? Do they shrink, right?
Yes. I guess it depends on how long you have them in there, but
I'm just trying to figure out what happened to Jalen Milroe. Now, I did see Jalen Milroe. There's no secret. Jalen Milroe has got an incredible arm, and he can throw the deep ball. Some of those passes that I did see him throw in the combine was amazing. But oh my gosh, the short range intermediate stuff. Oh my gosh. Bless his heart. It was not good. Just telling you what I saw.
no.
If you do a search on Twitter for Jalen Milroe combine, you're gonna. And then he made the decision not to run the 40.
$800-239-WJOX.
Just gonna leave it there.
Phone lines are open. Robert, hang on. We'll get you your phone call as we continue. The Monday edition of Three Man Front and Jocks 94.5.
So Kalen DeBoer is meeting with the media as we speak. We will hear some of the quotes and some of the comments from the Alabama second-year head coach in just a couple minutes. Conrad Van Order is there covering it live. We will check in with Conrad once the press conference is over. You know, just a couple minutes ago, we were talking about what Auburn potentially could do moving forward as they're the SEC champions. So Bruce Pearl, he is meeting with the media as we speak, and he was asked if he's going to do some different things tomorrow night as they take on the Texas A&M Aggies. Quoting directly from Bruce Pearl, absolutely not. We've got a lot to play for, end of quote. So it looks like the foot will be on the gas.
What do you think the line will be tomorrow night?
Ooh.
I just looked at, don't have an early line yet. Auburn on the road, 5.5.
I might go a little bit north of that.
I think.
I mean, you were a 5-point favorite at Kentucky. So I'm thinking you might be at close to double digits. I mean, Texas A&M has gone the absolute wrong way. And I know, I mean, Bruce is telling everybody right now that they're 2-5 in their last 7 games against the Aggies.
It's been a tough matchup for Bruce.
Yeah.
No matter who Buzz has had there. How about our friends at Mystic Beverage, made in Blount County, Alabama? It's sparkling water infused with various cannabinoids for relaxation and focus. I love the Lift Blend. It's got the CBD and the CBG, but it also has that green coffee bean extract. So if you're not feeling like a coffee type of effect, or you want maybe a little bit of a cleaner effect, you can go with the Lift Blend. I love it. You got a lot of tasks. You just need to stay extra focused that day. Late in the day, the Lift Blend works wonderfully. High Hills Delta 9, available in the 5 milligram and the 15 milligram. And don't forget about the Nirvonic. It's Mystic Beverage. You can find their products at your local Piggly Wiggly. Go to mysticbeverage.com for more information. And as always, if you run into them, tell them Landrum from 3-Man Front sent you.
And we will talk to Conrad coming up in just a little bit once the press conference ends in Tuscaloosa. But I'm already seeing some folks in the media tweet out certain quotes from Kalen DeBoer. And let me just say that I can already tell a little bit of a difference.
Different tone?
A different tone in regards to not so much vanilla. I'll give you an example. He was asked about the wide receiver room. He says it's a room that got longer. He name drops Isaiah Horton, Jalen Hale, Derek Meadows. On Horton, he says lights are not going to be too bright. So again, just a little bit of a sampling, but what I'm reading, it seems like Kalen DeBoer is not going to be giving us these vanilla coaching 101 coach speak type answers. At least he's not so far this morning.
That's what we want. That's what we need. We want spicy Kalen.
Have we seen spicy Kalen?
Eh.
I mean, we heard that he used HE double hockey stick during the Georgia game. Is that the spicy? Is that what
Yes,
you want?
that is getting spicier.
Okay.
He's like 1 pepper on a menu, denoting spicy. We need him to go 2 peppers.
Hey, speaking of spicy, Katie Johnson, according to Bruce Pearl, reached out to Pearl after the Kentucky win.
Just say no, Bruce. Just say no. Whatever it was, just say no.
He says it was good to love on him, talking about Katie Johnson. Pearl was also informed that Johnson is leading the country in technical fouls. I was not aware of that. I guess somebody keeps up with that stat.
Yeah, George Mason?
Does that shock you? That Katie Johnson? I accidentally came across one of George Mason's games.
The refs here, they just knew he was crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe there they don't know.
No, I saw him flailing on the floor going crazy.
Those
I would love to
psycho
see
eyes.
I would love to see Katie Johnson and Baker Mazzara like go one-on-one with each other.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's just crazy on crazy.
that'd be awesome.
That would be.
And Baker Mazzara, man, he's got that Dominican in him. He's got that different. He's got that edge to him. I think Dominican folks would know what I'm talking about, or if you're friends with a Dominican. But yeah, now it feels like the officiating towards Baker Mazzara has reversed in the last week.
You think so?
Yeah. Now it's like maybe they're catching on to people that are trying to agitate him. Because it is definitely it is in the playbook. If you've watched the last few games, for people to have certain people go after him.
I think that probably will be a general theme moving forward.
Yeah, would think so. We'll continue. Robert, get to your phone calls, 800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450. Robert, what's up?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing well.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. Listen, talk a little bit about the Alabama schedule, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I disagree with what the last caller said. Alabama, we've been told all year, has had a top 10 schedule in the country. I mean, they beat Houston, first of all, who won the Big 12 regular season title. They beat a very good Creighton team who went to Connecticut and won. They beat Illinois, who, by the way, I know they've been struggling late, but they just hammered Michigan by 20 points yesterday. Michigan was the co-leader in the Big Ten going that game yesterday.
Yeah, and Illinois got a really good net ranking. They're not a top 25 team, but they're very well respected. I think they're like 16 or 17 in the net.
Yeah, and the last caller who said Oregon's on the bottom of the Big Ten, that is not true. I watched a lot of Big Ten basketball yesterday, and Oregon is right there in the middle. They just went into Wisconsin and beat them in overtime. I don't understand and they just beat USC real bad over the weekend. I don't understand where the last caller's getting his information from, because Alabama's strength of schedule has been very strong all season. And that does include the non-conference. Look, North Carolina, with those two players out injured for Duke now, North Carolina has to win their game they have early in the week, and then they got Duke Saturday, where game day will be. North Carolina could very well beat Duke. And I just don't agree with what the last caller said about Alabama's non-conference schedule. And I agree with what you said, Pat, earlier about the officiating, especially in the Alabama-Tennessee game. It was very inconsistent. Like, I'll give you an example. They called a foul on Grant Nelson on the baseline on what started the 4-point play. You could tell that Chaz Lanier clearly used his arm to push him, and that Nate Oates said in the press conference after the game he didn't think it was a good call at all, because Nelson used his verticality legally. And then they pretty much bear hugged, grabbed around the arms, LeBaron Fallon driving into the paint and then the jump ball was called. And then and Chris Stewart said that he thought it was a very questionable call in the 5 seconds. I don't think they gave him the full 5, to be quite honest. Seconds, to be honest about it. But what you hope you do is you just learn from this game, learn what happened, make sure it doesn't happen again the rest of the season. Look, Florida is a huge game Wednesday night. I know there's some people already in the media talking about the Auburn game, but look, Florida and Alabama are both.
Sorry, lost you there.
Yeah, sorry, your cell phone cut out. Thank you for the call. It is a big game against Florida. I mean, and we talked about it earlier on the show in regards to what that potentially mean. I mean, Alabama is trying to get to the quarterfinals in the SEC basketball tournament. You're trying to get a bye until Friday. And I mean, let's just call it the way it is. I mean, yeah, Florida went and beat Auburn in Neville. Can Alabama do that? Sure they can. Is it likely? Probably not. So you take that loss. So that's why the Florida game is so important, because as of this moment, if you break it down, if Alabama beats Florida, loses to Auburn, and the rest of the chalk holds in the SEC with the 2 remaining games for every team, Bama is a 3 seed. Auburn's a 1, Tennessee a 2, Bama 3, Florida 4. Now that's the seeding for Nashville. That is not NCAA. But if Bama loses to Florida and then loses to Auburn on Saturday and the rest of the chalk holds, Bama's a 5 seed. And all of a sudden now you're playing on Thursday.
Well, not only that, I think psychologically, if you're Nate Oates for this basketball team, and just some of the big games in that stretch that we magnified so much and how it's the toughest in college basketball. At the end of the 6-game stretch, what would be, are you looking at 3-3? Are you looking at 4-2? Are you potentially looking at, I don't know, throw out another scenario there, but you lost to Missouri, you lose to Tennessee, 2 tough games on the road, but how do you stack up against the Florida, where you should hold your court and you should win at home, and then we have the game coming up at Neville. But I think psychologically for Alabama right now, and ever since that Auburn game where kind of that swagger has been taken away, can you regain that?
Well, you felt like they were riding the ship after losing back-to-back games and then absolutely just pounding Kentucky and Mississippi State. And then you go on the road and for 39 and a half minutes, according to Nate Oates, you had Tennessee beat. I mean, you missed free throws. You missed bunnies. You had the debacle there with the inbounds. And then I don't know what they were doing defensively at the end of the game to give Meshack the chance to shoot as far as it was, but it was a wide open look. So I'm like you, Landrum. At this point in time, you're trying to get a little bit of momentum of positivity as you head into the postseason. Now, you listening to the show right now, you go, well, Pat, they got pounded by Florida in the first round of the SEC tournament last year, and then they made it to the Final Four. But they also did not play the type of tough gauntlet that they're playing now. Now, they did lose 4 or 5 games last year to wrap up SEC play. That includes the loss in the SEC tournament. But it's kind of late now to be trying to right some of these issues that probably should have been righted about a month ago. Just my opinion.
Yeah. 800-239-WJOX. Let's go to Don. Hey, Don, what's up?
Well, first of all, my buddy, welcome back.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And real quickly, Landrum, I need to give one of your great sponsors a plug. I went down to Ramblers yesterday. Oh, my goodness gracious, do I love that place.
Yeah, it's a great place to go and watch a game.
That's the biggest TVs I've ever seen in a bar in this town, Landrum.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, and Pat, buddy, if you'll let me tomorrow at our good old gathering, I would like to make an announcement about an Auburn watch party there Saturday.
Cool. Very nice.
Well, and of course, Alabama fans, my Alabama friends are invited too, of course. I mean, I know I might drive them crazy yelling and screaming War Eagle all day, but real quickly, a little update on our buddy PG. He's getting better and
good.
Should possibly be able to be with us this Saturday, hopefully.
Well, that's good. I know that he has struggled as of late, but hopefully all is well.
Okay, well, I'm glad you brought up what Bruce Pearl said. I was wondering about how he was going to handle Wednesday night because a lot of people, let me ask both of y'all this, and Molly, I want you to weigh in too. One thing I think you got to do tomorrow night is play everybody and keep the momentum going, but he needs to give some minutes, in my opinion, to people like Turtle Hudson and what's the kid's name that got in trouble on the plane? Whatever his name, I can't remember his name, and Chris Ward. I think we need to get about 10 people ready to play in the tournament for March. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I don't think that he said that there's not going to be any change, and I think. Wait, a Ja'Kai Howard that you were talking about potentially
that's it, Howard.
Along with Turtle. Yeah, and maybe they get some more minutes, but I don't know. Do you want to take that momentum away from your guys, have them play a different way than they've had success, but you also have to be wary of how many leg minutes. I don't know how Bruce Pearl is going to handle this. I think first and foremost winning these 2 games this week, but how he handles the tournament, I have no idea.
Well, Pat, buddy, where do we stand on the quad one record? Where do we stand right now?
It's
16-2.
Yeah, 16-2.
No. I mean the overall record. I think Kansas.
I think Kansas ended up winning 17.
They won 17.
Yeah. So, now keep in mind that will fluctuate because there could be a potential of one of those SEC bubble teams that might fall out of a quad one type of number. when it's all said and done. But I think Auburn's in outstanding shape to smash that record.
Right. Well, I bet you. Did Oklahoma count as one, Pat?
I will have to go back and
when
look.
they played. No, I don't think that they were. That was at home, and that
I'm trying to think of the one that they lost. Now I'm talking about.
It might have been Georgia, and that might be back. That's what I was thinking.
It was either LSU or Georgia, because LSU at one time was a quad one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they took that away from us, Landrum, and I think that's where we stand right now.
Okay.
Yep. 16-2. It's phenomenal. I mean, not only 16-2 in quad one, but then you take a look at what they have done in daggum quad two, and it's, I mean, quad two, they're 5-0. So they're 21-2 in quad one and quad two wins. That's amazing.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy.
And I really think that Bruce wants to go to have the undefeated record on the road in the SEC too, because I don't think Auburn's ever done that.
Hey, think about this, Don, and this is what's so impressive. You want to talk about the quad one wins? So they have 16 quad one wins. That is more quad one wins than Florida, Iowa State, and Kansas combined. Florida, Iowa State, Kansas combined does not get up to the 16 quad one wins that Auburn currently has.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, my friend. But hey, real quickly, guys, I know you got a lot of people wanting to talk to you. Don't forget, everybody, we're having a BB's birthday party at Social Taco tomorrow, and really would like to encourage all the other listeners that haven't been there yet to stop by. We have so much fun up there, and Pat, Landrum, Molly, and Conrad, it's all because of you guys. You guys make it special for us, for friends.
Well, we appreciate that very much.
Don.
Thank you, Don. When we come back on Three Man Front, we're going to go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Conrad Van Order on the scene. He will be on live with us coming up next. Give us a report on what he heard as Kalen DeBoer wraps up press conference number 1 of the spring. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5. It is 11:51, Jocks 94.5. Let's go down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, our cohort. Conrad Van Order joins us live outside the football practice facility there on the campus of the University of Alabama. Conrad, you were able to sit in there with Kalen DeBoer. Tell us what you heard. Does it sound a little bit different than last year?
Pat, to be honest, it sounds pretty similar. And it's the first day of spring practice, so, there's only so much that these guys can really share with the first time getting to see some new faces on the practice field and things like that. But no, it's about what you would expect from Kalen DeBoer. He liked what he saw, liked the effort here on day one. A lot of guys that are going to be injured for spring that we can get into for a second, but just excited for a lot of opportunity for some younger guys to get some reps. And seemed like as far as first days go, things went pretty well. But then again, if we heard anything different, that might be some cause for concern. So all seems well after day one of practice here.
Conrad, who are some of those names that Kalen DeBoer went out of his way to mention that they would not be available for the spring?
Yeah, so some of the big ones, and a lot of it's, nagging injuries from last year, as he mentioned. But, the ones that I guess will get the headlines, Keon Sabb, who we know missed a good chunk of last season. He's going to be out for the spring. Caden Proctor dealing with some injury stuff. He's going to be out as well. Deontay Lawson still coming back from his injury late in the year last year. He's still doing his recovery. And then Danny Lewis there with the tight ends is another name that people will recognize as somebody that's going to be out. And he actually mentioned the tight end spot specifically because with Dupree and Oots going to the NFL and Danny Lewis being out for spring, you really have Josh Cuevas and then a bunch of guys behind him on the depth chart that are going to have to step up and get some reps and guys that probably weren't expecting to have that kind of a role here in the spring. So those are the big ones right now.
So I understand that he also was very happy, it seems, at this moment of the wide receiver room that he has guys coming back and guys coming in the transfer portal.
Yeah, he mentioned three guys in particular. I think we all know what Ryan Williams and Jeremy bring to that room and what they did last year. But Isaiah Horton, he definitely mentioned him and put some emphasis on him, the transfer from Miami, said that he's already bringing some production to the field there, and they really like what they're seeing from him. He mentioned Jalen Hale, who a lot of Alabama fans remember showed some flashes a couple years ago, got hurt in spring ball last year, and said that he's a guy that's really stepped up here. And then he mentioned a young guy, Derek Meadows, one of the young receivers, that started to turn some heads as well. So when you add those three guys to what you already have in Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, it seems like they look pretty good at wide receiver right now.
I know it's early, but any mention or ask from any of the media members about offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb and any of the changes that we can notice in the spring?
Yeah, I thought, one of the more interesting answers he gave was actually about Grubb and how, I guess in his past, he has worked a lot with the offensive linemen and with Nick Sheridan being retained and him being the quarterback's coach, that while Ryan Grubb is certainly going to play a role in quarterback coaching, but it kind of allows him to spread himself out and really have his hands on every part of the offense since Nick Sheridan's already in place as kind of the quarterback's guy. So he seemed to think that was going to be a good sign for the coaching staff, that Ryan Grubb can kind of, have a more kind of oversee every part of the offense instead of just having to focus on that one group.
I know we're short on time, but I do want to ask you this before you head back to Birmingham in regards to maybe the quarterback competition. Maybe DeBoer did not address that, but just the people that you talk to around the football program, is there anybody that's going to push Ty Simpson in spring camp?
Yeah, I guess the sentiment that I got was that maybe there's a lot of guys right now seem to agree that Ty Simpson should be the guy. It should be his job to lose. But there seemed to be a feeling in some of the conversations I had that maybe Keelan Russell was, doing pretty well early on. I know he's put on about 20 pounds and kind of gotten up to more of a suitable playing weight in college. And there just seemed to be a lot of positive momentum about him and not a whole lot of mention of Austin Mack. It seemed like everybody was kind of focusing on Ty Simpson and Keelan Russell. I will also add this in before you'll have to go to break. Somebody asked him about the spring game and how that was going to be modified. And he actually said that last year's spring game, he kind of viewed that as a modified version of the spring game. So not to say that this year's is going to be identical to last year, but it did seem like, for anybody that remembers what it was like last year, you may get something similar to that in the spring. But he did say that was something they were going to have to evaluate in terms of injury and depth and just what they'll have available to them come A-Day. So it looks like it may not be too different from what we saw last year. So that should be good for some people to
Maybe
hear.
we could have the offensive linemen get together and see who can change a tire first. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, maybe so. I could have certainly used that a couple of weeks ago, but I will say he did also mention Michael Carroll, one of the big recruits they brought in. Seems like he's already turning some heads, and if you're looking for a freshman that could find a role early on, Michael Carroll might be one to keep an eye on.
All right, Conrad, we're keeping our eye on you. Live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama practice, three-man front continues on Jocks 94.5.
Well, you just heard Conrad joining us from Tuscaloosa as Kalen DeBoer met with the media. We'll have some sound a little bit later in the program, what Kalen told the media. Injuries, a big story in regards to guys that just will not be participating in spring practice. Damani Jackson, Deontay Lawson, Danny Lewis Jr., Keon Sabb. Those four off the top of my head will not be participating because of, lagging injuries from last season. So probably be a few others, but they got underway this morning there in Tuscaloosa. Spent a lot of time talking basketball the first couple hours of the show. We'd love to hear from you. The second half, 1-800-239-WJOX. The courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. Auburn gets the big win at Kentucky, the final 94-78. Bruce Pearl, after the game, the historic victory, first one since 1988 for Auburn. A pretty happy Bruce Pearl after clinching the SEC.
I just want to say something that I hope you'll find is funny. I was prepared to win, but I was also prepared to lose, which I've done a lot in this building. Last time I had a win here, Chris Lofton, I'd be curious how many he had, but it was in the high 20s, had a big game. And obviously Miles Kelly had a huge game tonight. But my line was going to be, every now and then when y'all have a coaching change, my name comes up. Why in the world would you ever want me to be your coach when I can't win in Rupp? That was going to be in my line. But having coached at Southern Indiana and Evansville, Indiana, having coached in Division II for a long time, y'all remember what great basketball there is in the state of Kentucky and the state of Indiana, and how y'all love your high school basketball, but you also love your Division II basketball because y'all respect the game so much. There are no more knowledgeable fans anywhere in the country than right here at Kentucky. And so there have been times I've brought really good teams in here and we've gotten spanked. And every now and then I walk away going, you know what, I thought that Pearl could coach a little bit. He can't, whatever. And so I want to bring a team in here, and I want to play good basketball. I want to honor the game, whether we win or lose. And we've played well a couple times and gotten beat. But this is obviously historic. Two wins and 31 losses and 33 tries. And for this one to be for a championship, it's what we do it for, to make history. This is our fifth team in the last 8 years that has won either regular season or tournament championships. So I'm just, super, super proud and super happy about that.
That was Bruce Pearl after the historic victory, first one since 1988. Miles Kelly, as you mentioned, Landrum, just an incredible game for him, hitting 9 3-pointers, 30 points on the afternoon, including a couple bank shots. Things are going good. Did he call that?
Yeah, I don't know if he did or not. But not only Miles Kelly, but guys like Denver Jones, when you've had to have Chaney Johnson on those certain nights, just so deep, and they can hit you in a variety of different ways. And when this team is on and they're clicking on all cylinders, we've seen why they're regarded as the best team in college basketball.
No doubt about it. We talked about the historic numbers they put up in quad one wins, which currently is at 16-2. But now Auburn has the second most AP top 25 wins before a conference tournament in basketball history. They've got 10. It's amazing. Kentucky had 11 back in 2002, 2003. Indiana had 11 in 1992-93 season. So once again, just records are dropping left and right for the Auburn Tigers. Let's take you up to Rocky Top. ESPN had the call. This is the way it sounded, unfortunately, for Alabama fans, as Tennessee got the impressive last-second win.
When they turned down Gainey, now Mashak's got to go. He will fire. He wins it! Watch out! Mashak wins it! Gainey got turned down, and Mashak, as a senior, says, "Coach, I got you." The feet are set. The ball comes off. Rise, release, rotation, and result, and the building explodes.
That was a tough shot.
There you go. That's the way it sounded on ESPN. Tide led 42-38 at the half. Only 5 turnovers in the first half, but they missed 7 free throws in the first 20 minutes, and they missed 7 layups. Alabama led as many as 9 in the second half. They managed a multi-possession lead for much of the second half. And then the Vols hit 7 of 9 shots to tie the game with 6 minutes left. Game was back and forth with the last 30 seconds, but Tennessee outscored Bama 7-0 in the final 30 seconds of the game. Alabama only hit 65% of their free throws. They missed 9. Just think if they only hit half of those 9, 4 or 5 of those 9, what happens, in that game? Sears had 24 points. Philon had 13. Holloway had 11. It was the second largest attended basketball game in the United States this year. 22,392 people showed up on Rocky Top to witness that historic game. Alabama falls to 23-6, 12-4 in the SEC. Here's what Nate Oates had to say after the heartbreaking loss.
I'm going to take most of the blame in the last 30 seconds. It's on me. Got subbed our bigs out to get the rebound before I should have. Shouldn't have subbed them out until after we secured the rebound. So that was on me, and then I had a chance to call timeout. Coaches can call timeouts on the underneath out of bounds play. And at 4, I should have called it. I thought we were getting it in, and that's on me. So, and then we probably could have had better guys in, being a little smaller at the end with the 3.8 on the clock to make sure they didn't get the ball up the floor. So we work on into game situations in practice and expect our players to be good at them. And I was not good for the last 30 seconds today. So I feel like I failed these guys, for 39 and a half minutes. They outplayed them. They were up 4. Tough call on Grant's verticality. Play there at the end, but it's the game of basketball. There are a lot of tough calls in the game,
The people in Tennessee call this the biggest win in Tennessee basketball history. I'll let that sink in for a minute. I don't know if you're pretty much playing into the hyperbole or the emotion of the moment, but for people that have followed that basketball program for some time, making that statement when Meshack hits it from the Pat Summit logo near half court, not really sure what Alabama's defensive plan was on that, but it failed miserably as Tennessee gets the win 79-76.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan was. Well, the plan was, number one, surely he's not going to make it from there. But the other guys that were on the floor, I guess that you take your chances with Meshack. That's tough. But the biggest win that they can remember?
That's what they say.
Well, I mean, that was a big game. It didn't feel like that kind of setup going into the game.
No, it didn't.
And maybe it's because we made so much of Auburn and Alabama.
I mean, the first time that Nate Oates has been able to score more than 74 points against Tennessee and you lose.
And you didn't start out by trailing 9-0 or 12-0.
Yeah. I mean,
in the first few minutes
Nate Oates
of the game.
was right. I mean, for 39 and a half minutes, Alabama was the better basketball team. But now all of a sudden, you've got the same number of net one wins for Tennessee and Alabama. The only difference is that Alabama's now got one more quad one loss than Tennessee. And so that's the difference with Tennessee this morning waking up on Joe Lunardi's 1 line and Alabama being on the 2 line. Now, how much difference does it make? I mean, I've been following the NCAA tournament since I was a little kid and making brackets on poster board that I got at Eckerd, back in the day. I mean, being a 1 or a 2 seed, it really doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot difference. You're either playing a 16 or a 15, I mean, you should be okay first couple rounds if you're as good as advertised. But, if you're an Alabama team, preseason ranked number 2 in America, just a few weeks ago before the IBOB, you were ranked number 1 in one of the polls. Things were looking up, and now all of a sudden Alabama hit that 2-game skid, then won 2 games, and now you lose at Tennessee, and now you've got one of the teams that potentially could be a Final Four contender in Florida, and then the number 1 team in America on Saturday. So it's SEC basketball this year. It's pretty crazy.
This final week, it's going to be very interesting to see what it does in determining these SEC teams and their seeding.
Yes.
For some of these teams.
Very much so. Now, according to Joe Lunardi, as of this moment in the SEC, you've got Auburn as a 1. You've got Tennessee as a 1. Florida and Bama, you have them as a 2. And then you've got no one on the 3 line from the SEC. Then the 4 line, you've got Texas A&M and Kentucky. So you've got Texas A&M that have lost 4 games in a row, and they're still on the 4 line. And you've got a chance of losing again this week against Auburn. Mizzou is now currently on the 5 line. The last 4 buys, according to Lunardi, no SEC team is there, but Georgia and Oklahoma are the last 4 in. So Nebraska's in, Molly, according to Joe Lunardi, as one of the last 4 in.
We'll take it.
And then as far as the last 4 out, he currently has North Carolina as out, Texas out. So SEC right now has 13 teams, according to Joe Lunardi.
No complaints with Texas and North Carolina if they get left out.
No. North Carolina is 1-10.
Yeah, that's
in the net.
That's tough to defend in quad 1.
Yeah, very much so. So as far as the SEC schedule goes, now tomorrow night we have got it's a busy night in the SEC. You know, I always joke around. I love these 5:00 tip-offs.
Yeah.
We're going to get one tomorrow night in the SEC. I don't have to go to the Mid-Atlantic Athletic Conference or the MAC, the other MAC. I get to watch SEC ball at 5:00.
It's going to be a sizzler.
That's right. Georgia at South Carolina. Hey, do you think Georgia's going to be paying a little bit more close attention to South Carolina tomorrow night?
I think so.
I hope they can get their third conference win.
LSU, Kentucky's at 6:00. Texas, Mississippi State is at 7. The Texas media has said put a fork in Texas, like
Okay,
they are completely like we're done with this. Let's
on to softball.
No, we're on to Arch Manning, like spring practice.
Yes,
we're done with this basketball thing. Auburn and Texas A&M. You can hear the game right here on Jocks 94.5. Pregame shows at 7:30. Tip off is at 8:00 from Reed Arena on the campus of Texas A&M. Also, this is a 9:00 tip-off tomorrow night in the Music City. Those poor Vandy students.
Oh, man.
Poor Vandy playing a 9:00 game in Music City. Now, the former Arkansas coach, I know what he would be saying by having a 9:00 tip-off. Because
Musselman would not be having it.
No, and Musselman was always ticked off about something with scheduling. But tomorrow night, John Calipari.
Coach Cal.
Yep.
That's
9
when
o'clock
you
tomorrow
just
night.
start getting going at 9:00.
Yep.
Coach Cal.
Yeah. Arkansas and Vandy, 9:00 tomorrow night.
They're loving him right now in Fayetteville.
So you have 5 games, 10 of the 16 teams in action tomorrow night in the Southeastern Conference. And then on Wednesday, you got Florida at Bama. That's a 6:00 tip. And you've got Mizzou at Oklahoma. Big game for Oklahoma.
Ooh.
They want to stay on that line.
How are they not off that line?
And let me tell you something. I do believe that this Tennessee Ole Miss game is going to be a sneaky game. 8:00 tip in Oxford, Mississippi, coming off a huge game against Alabama, and all of a sudden you're drinking the Kool-Aid and reading the press clippings that you're a number 1 team in America. Be prepared.
Yeah.
I know Pat's excited.
Hotty toddy. Get ready for that. We've already heard from Conrad Van Order. He was live in Tuscaloosa covering the DeBoer press conference. We'll have more information coming out of that. This is Reaction Monday. We hope to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX.
12-17, three-man front on this Monday, Reaction Monday. You want to react to what happened in college basketball, you can certainly do so. A little bit of college football news that we're working through here on this Monday, but the newest AP Top 25 men's basketball poll is out. Auburn remains at number 1 with all of the 61 first-place votes, followed by Duke. Houston is at 3. Tennessee moves up 1 spot to number 4. Florida down 2 spots, but they're at number 5. St. John's at 6. Alabama falls 1 spot to number 7, followed by Michigan State, Texas Tech, and Iowa State rounding out the top 10. Other SEC notables, Missouri is in at number 15, just ahead of Memphis, who we saw in Birmingham yesterday versus UAB. Kentucky comes in at number 19. Texas A&M is at 22. And Mississippi State falls 1 spot, but still in the top 25, Pat. They're at 25.
Mark Sears this morning, he was named one of the 5 finalists for the Bob Cousy Award as the nation's top point guard, along with Walter Clayton Jr., Cam Jones, Braden Smith, and Zakai Ziegler. So those are your 5 finalists for the Bob Cousy Award, which awards the nation's top point guard. 1-800-239-WJOX, the courtesy GMC text line is 205-834-9450. College football headlines this morning. It appears that the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson are about to come to an agreement to end all the hostilities amongst each other. The ACC is formulating a plan in which a new revenue sharing agreement inside the conference. It would basically pay you bonuses on the number of viewers that you have for your football games and other activities. So the presidents will meet at midday tomorrow. It does not need to be unanimous, just needs to be a majority in the ACC for them to approve this new plan, a revenue sharing plan. And Clemson and FSU, their boards are going to meet around the same time tomorrow. And then the new structure, assuming that it passes from the Board of Trustees for the 2 schools and the presidents of all the other schools, it would go in place for 2025 and 26. So it would be starting this fall.
Well, see, you get the current lawsuits put away, but what happens in a couple of years? Is there any more forethought? Or is this, let's handle this right now, let's keep them pacified, and then we can figure this out, and hopefully something better comes along in a couple of years? That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I want to be able to read the fine print, because one of the stories that I've been reading off and on during the commercial breaks is talking about the potential for teams to be allowed to leave the conference and I guess to buy out. And I think that buyout is going to be much smaller than it was reported before in regards to what it would take someone to leave the conference. So with that being said, I want to see that number because I want to see if it's palatable and it's something that could be actionable from a Florida State or Clemson. Ultimately, if you want to leave, is it enough to where a school could raise the funds to get out or have a private equity company give you the money and then get out?
Well, the current fee that's out there, exit fee, it's way up there. And according to people at Clemson and in Tallahassee, they had said that they had people that were prepared to pay that buyout. So if we believe that this is going to be substantially less, then you would think that puts better positioning, negotiating power in the hands of Florida State and Clemson moving forward. But without seeing, as you mentioned, some of the fine print and what that means as far as distribution or what the payout would look like in just a couple of years if everybody's not happy. And inevitably, not everybody's going to be happy, and they come back to this.
So
I wonder if Brett Yormark's going to be jumping on board with this new,
possibly
innovative plan.
So according to Ira Schafel, who's a frequent guest on this program, he writes for warchant.com. He was just kind of going over some of the high points of what he is reporting. And he said, 2 years ago, Florida State officials began asking the ACC if it would consider unequal revenue sharing, where the schools who bring the highest television ratings and win the most games would receive a large piece of the revenue pie. So after months of talks, the other conference schools did agree to give higher payouts to schools that achieve the most success on the field but they balked at the idea of giving schools like Florida State and Clemson more money based on TV ratings. That stance has now changed, according to Ira Schafel and War Chant. As part of the new deal, Florida State, Clemson, and a few select schools will receive a larger portion of the annual payouts based on media metrics. There will also be a reduction in the cost of exiting the conference before the grant of rights expires in 2036. ESPN, meanwhile, is reporting that the brand schools could receive an additional $15 million per year under new agreement. Now, Florida State has said that there's going to be a shortfall between $30 and $40 million up against an SEC school like a Florida. Okay. So if you're going to be able to give them 15 to 20 million more, you're all of a sudden starting to get in that ballpark. Maybe it's a little bit more palatable if you're a Florida State. Instead of being 30, $40 million behind, now you're talking, okay, we're 15 to 20 million behind, maybe, just maybe. More college football playoff teams in, that means more money for the conference. Maybe some more boosters like FSU Dave. Maybe their stock market portfolio looks a little bit more richer and they can give more money to the school. Who knows? But this is significant in regards to the amount of money that they potentially could get. I still want to know how much it's going to cost a team to get out, because if they are lowering that number, what is it? And I'm just going to go ahead and state right now, this has not worked long-term for any conference before. I don't think it's going to work for the ACC. I think this is a Band-Aid on a bigger problem, because when you don't have equal parts and you're paying more people a little bit more money, that is a problem. If you think NIL in a locker room is a problem, how do you think that is when you're Boston College and these other people and you're not making anywhere where Florida State and Clemson is? Am I wrong? Am I crazy to think that?
No. It's human nature.
So apparently tomorrow it's going to become official. But as I said in hour number one, it's just, reading some of the typical ACC apologists out there talking about this is, groundbreaking. I mean, listen, they had to do it because Florida State and Clemson was absolutely going to clean their clock. I mean, the Florida Supreme Court last week ruled in favor of Florida State because the ACC wanted them to throw it out. And I think the ACC realized after Florida State won that decision last week from the Florida Supreme Court, that they realized that they were in deep doo-doo and they needed to figure out a way to get out of it. And that's what has taken place.
Well, for all of those involved, hopefully it comes out to a decision that everybody can at least temporarily agree upon. We'll continue with your phone calls, 800-239-WJOX. Text line, more of your text, 205-834-9450. It is Three-Man Front Reaction Monday on Jocks 94.5.
It is 12:30 here on Jocks 94.5. This is Reaction Monday. Courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. A little bit of breaking news from the National Football League. Famed former head football coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl winning coach Jimmy Johnson, he has just announced that he is retiring from Fox Television. After 2 Super Bowls and over 30 years as a coach and front office executive, Johnson then spent another 30 years at Fox Sports as an NFL analyst. He has just announced moments ago that he is retiring. He is no longer going to be on the...
I'll miss him on the broadcast.
I think he does a really good job on Fox Sundays.
Yeah.
30, it's crazy. 30 years. Him and Terry Bradshaw were part of the originals. I think Howie Long was as well, if I'm not mistaken.
And to parlay that in the television career that he's had after being out of coaching that long.
Yeah. So, calling it quits. 30 years on Fox.
Well, our friends at Stark Exterminators want to remind you, they're not calling it quits. No, this is the busy time of year. And did you know that termites can cause over $5 billion in property damage each year? The startling fact is that this damage is rarely covered by homeowners insurance. You got to protect your home or business with the Centricon system. With the always active Centricon, it eliminates the entire colony so you can stop a termite invasion before it even begins. So now with the spring weather, the warmer weather coming in, you know what that means. There's going to be more bugs. Protect your home, protect your business with our friends at Stark Exterminators. 855-STARK now or visit starkexterminators.com. Call for your free pest inspection today, whether that be a home or business. 855-STARK now or visit starkexterminators.com. Hopefully you will have the experience that me and my wife experienced when Liam, one of the great team members, came out to our home so many years ago. Once again, 855-STARK now or visit starkexterminators.com.
Our own Conrad Van Order, he was down in Tuscaloosa covering the Kalen DeBoer press conference. It was not broadcast live, by the way, but Conrad was there covering it for Jocks 94.5 and captured this audio in regards to what Kalen DeBoer had to say about potential injuries and those not participating this spring.
A couple guys that are limited to and a couple that are full go. Alex Asparuhoff, he'll be out. David Bird will be out. Long snapper Bubba Hampton will be out. Devontae Henry, Damani Jackson, Deontay Lawson, Danny Lewis, Keon Sabb, and then we have some guys that are limited really just to Indy only and not contact, and Justin Jefferson, Caden Proctor, James Smith. So a lot of those, pretty much most of those injuries, all just from last season still, and expected. So nothing new there from our standpoint. I know it's probably new for you, but good to get out there, practice one.
There you go. That's Kalen DeBoer wrapping up practice number 1 today. They'll be back on the practice field on Wednesday. Individual players will meet with the media on Wednesday. So it's just crazy. We've been spending so much time talking about basketball, and you look up and all of a sudden here we are. We're in springtime and it's time for spring football practice. As far as Auburn goes, they will get their spring underway later this month. Still details are yet to come out in regards to their A-Day activities down on the plains. Some news that came out Friday, which was released by Auburn University, that Hugh Freeze has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. They found it early, according to the reports. And so it looks like that they caught it in the nick of time, and a full recovery is expected. So that's great news for Hugh Freeze. And a reminder for those of us listening in the listening audience, being a male, you need to have regular checkups and make sure that the PSA is done to help out in regards to trying to nip that in the bud if it comes back that you have that. So.
Yeah, and tough for anybody to have to deal with that. But if you're going to pick a time of the year to deal with it, I would think that this year is not the worst time. There's always something going on if you're a college football coach, but dealing with this and hopefully getting it rectified and you get a clean bill of health by the start of the season, that would be good. One of the things on the field, though, is obviously to watch is going to be Jackson Arnold, quarterback, and what kind of reports we're getting coming out of spring practice where maybe it's being on the same page with your wide receivers. You got a couple of new additions there with Singletary, or Singleton, excuse me, Jr. and some other guys. So what does that offense look like? Because I think that Auburn fans probably, you want it to improve, but feel pretty good about DJ Durkin and that side of the ball last year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And now DJ Durkin is the highest paid, or one of the, I think it might be number 2 behind LSU. But yeah, just big numbers for the defensive side. Royal Payne tweets into the show. He asks us this question. He says, Big Ten TV deal ends after the 2030 season, SEC 2034 and ACC 2036. Do you think the Big Ten TV deal will begin the final push to the Big Ten SEC Super League and ACC teams exit then, or are we talking 2036 or ever?
Think. Ooh.
I believe that this is a stopgap fill for the ACC. And by the time you do get to the 2030 season for the Big Ten, depending on how much money is going to be potentially on the table for the rest of those Big Ten teams, and then is there that partnership with the SEC from a scheduling model? Because supposedly the SEC and the Big Ten would be willing to sell those Big Ten SEC matchups to a separate provider, to the highest bidder.
Well, and past 2030, what does that look like? Does the landscape look the same as it does now? Well, based on the last 3 years of college athletics, I would think that would be foolish to just say set in stone, yeah, this is the way it's going to look. We're still going to have 4 Power 4 conferences, or do we have 3 at that point, or they're the big 2? Maybe something that Royal Payne's alluding to. We'll continue their phone calls and your text, 205-834-9450. Let's go to Corey. He's in Hueytown. Corey, welcome in.
Hey, Landon. How's it going?
Doing well. Hope you are.
I'm pretty sure by the sound of my voice, not the way, the ending yesterday against with Memphis and UAB. Was proud of the team and the way they played. Start off the game, sluggish, and then, got going with about 15 minutes left in the first half. And second half, did well, we allowed them to shoot 61% for the game.
Yeah.
We didn't finish the game. The thing about it, I listened to Andy Kennedy's press conference yesterday, and again, our inability to rebound the basketball in key moments of the game.
Yep.
Like those last 5 minutes, they were Peter Haggerty. He is a handful. He went nuclear on us defensively. He just absolutely. I think he scored Memphis' last 13 points in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yep.
And I was sitting there watching him. I was like, "That's going in. That's going in. That shot's going in."
He was good, Corey. We're gonna let you go. I appreciate you chiming in, but have a chance to redeem themselves on Thursday night as UAB takes on FAU. That's senior night at Bartow, and you can hear the game on Jocks 2 100.5, and then. Also, you got a game coming up this weekend in New Orleans at Tulane, and that will help determine seeding when it comes to the conference tournament. So a lot of basketball left to be played, not only on the South Side, but throughout the SEC and all of America as we begin championship week. That's my favorite week to watch you, Pat.
Watch me?
Yes, and your roller coaster of emotions.
It was a very good weekend. There was not a lot of a roller coaster.
You see Pat come in like he hasn't slept. He's been watching Niagara. Take on Wagner.
I did play Sacred Heart this weekend.
Did you?
I did. And
How
I
did
won.
that go?
I won. It was a really good weekend. It's a really good weekend.
Okay. Sacred Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew it wasn't just a hospital?
Yeah. They have a basketball team.
Uniforms and everything.
And they won. They won big yesterday.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. They did.
Well, we'll continue. 800-239-WJOX. 205-834-9450. Reaction Monday. 3-man front.
Welcome back in. It's three-man front on this Reaction Monday. We'll get to your text messages momentarily. You know, owning a home is great, but it can come with its share of headaches. Some of you out there have foundation issues currently at your house. I'm talking about cracks that start showing up, those doors and windows that just won't close right. You can't ignore it much longer because those issues will get worse over time. That's why you need to call Alabama Professional Services today, 205-951-9717. It'll be the best decision you've made for the protection of your house. APS, they're going to send a team out to your home. They really know their stuff. They'll inspect everything, explain the problem clearly, and they're going to offer solutions that are tailored to your home. No pressure, just honest service and advice. They can fix your foundation. They can tackle that sinking driveway with the poly-level system. It's quick, clean. It's going to look fantastic when they're done. Plus, they can fix those cracks in your patio right before barbecue season. So call APS today, 205-951-9717. or visit alabamaprofessional.com. Trust me, you'll be glad you did.
Texts are in on the text line. We'll get to those. 205-834-9450. And according to this listener, Capstone Jack, Oak's biggest problem is having to play one Grant Nelson. He says bench Grant Nelson. That'll alleviate some of your problems.
I would probably not have Grant Nelson shoot three-pointers. It's just me. I would start there.
Coaching advice? Less threes?
Mm-hmm.
Bama Hater says, raise your hand to yellow hand-raised emojis if you knew that Pat would pull the ref card after Bama choked away another L. It never gets old.
First off, Bama Hater, you have selective listening. I did not say whatsoever that Alabama lost that game. I said the officiating of Don Daly at the Tennessee-Alabama game was the exact same that you got at the UAB-Memphis game.
I did hear you say that.
Which was inaccuracy. That's what it was. It had nothing to do with Alabama losing the game. Zero. That crew decided that they want. I mean, listen, I respect Bama Hater because Bama Hater is a local high school basketball official, and he would know better than anybody else in the world. It's about consistency. If you're going to call the game one way, I'm an umpire, okay? I promise you, if I'm behind the plate and all of a sudden my strike zone changes mid-game, I'm going to hear it from both dugouts. And you know what? I should hear it from both dugouts. You got to be consistent. That's what I'm saying about officiating in college basketball. That's not why Alabama lost. It's not why UAB lost. There were bad calls against Memphis yesterday. There were bad calls against Tennessee on Saturday. That's what, did I not say that?
You did.
You did.
Did not make any reference to the fact that that's why Alabama lost. So you have selective listening in this particular case, Bama Hater. I respect you as a basketball official. It's about being consistent. And those officials this weekend, especially Don Daly, was not.
Aren't you glad I gave you an opportunity to respond to that again by reading the text? Yeah, just want to clear the air.
Well, he was already ready because he called in Morning Jocks this morning, and Conrad did not take the bait because he brought up the grave digger play down at the Iron Bowl, and I mean it's just same script, different day.
Robert wants to remind us that Illinois just went on the road to beat Michigan. Talking about Alabama's non-conference basketball schedule.
Yes, they did, and Illinois has a top 17 net ranking right now.
Tim wants to know, is Mark Pope at Kentucky getting paid by the game up there? Mark Pope wants more.
Yes, he wants 40 games in the regular season.
Cliff says, hey, Landrum and Molly, Conrad probably already knows this, but today's is Tua's 27th birthday.
Is it really?
I did not fact check that. Molly is now doing that.
Oh, it was yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday yesterday.
It says March 2nd.
Okay.
And by the way, there was a tweet that went out that Tua Tagovailoa recently hosted and played chess with President Donald Trump's grandson.
Huh.
I wonder who won.
Not sure what this one means. This one rolls in from the state of Mississippi. Nate Oates needs to recalculate the game time in which Alabama actually had a lead compared to the portion of time when the teams were either tied or Tennessee was in the lead. Alabama did not win 39 and a half minutes worth of that game. Thank you for the text. AU Dave says, welcome back, Landrum. The Mystic beverages are going down easy. Would recommend to the Crimson Tide folks for the upcoming encounter with the Reptiles on Wednesday. They will sleep well regardless of being chomped. War Eagle. Thank you, Dave. MysticBeverage.com. If you're going to watch that basketball game or any basketball game, you can be dialed in. BB says, welcome back, Landrum. You should do an over-under on how old I will be this week. Ooh.
That's a dangerous proposition.
Feels like that is one that I should not set. But
I'll let you handle that
one.
one.
Yeah, that's all you.
Yeah. Both shaking your head, saying no. Not going to do that. Josh says he'll be genuinely shocked if they give Broom National Player of the Year. Flag is a golden boy in the media, and I still argue he should stay in Durham rather than play the Wizards in front of probably less fans. Thank you, Josh in Huntsville. You think Broom gets National Player of the Year?
Yes.
I do too. Feels like that anyways. Keep the text rolling in.
He plays on the number one team. His stats, obviously comparable to Flag. Obviously, he gets more rebounds than Flag. And I just don't. If Broom doesn't get it, then why even have the award? That's my thought.
With you.
Flag's an outstanding player, but I think what Janai Broom has done against that schedule. I mean, look at the schedule. Now Duke is a blue blood, and Duke has a very good schedule outside of the ACC, but he is playing in a league that is, I mean, watching them against Miami last week, oh my gosh. We could get 5 guys here. Sorry, Bama hater, not picking on your school, but they are pathetic. They are terrible. You could probably take the 13th or 14th place team in the Sun Belt and beat Miami.
That's so bad. But a quick reminder about one year of roster attrition, or what can happen even.
Or somebody not paying the NIL bill.
Yeah. I mean, think about where Larinaga had that program.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he left it. Nasty for sure.
So earlier today at the Birmingham Tip-Off Club, Greg Byrne, the athletics director at the University of Alabama, he was in attendance. And the question was brought up about a 9-game SEC football schedule. This is a direct quote from Greg Byrne. I think there's a way to get to 9. We'll see if it makes sense for the conference as a whole. We're one vote in there. So based on that quote, would you agree that that means that Alabama is all in favor of a 9-game schedule?
Yes.
He also goes on to say, but again, we've scheduled as though we were playing 8-game conference schedules. He says the upcoming season, Alabama will play 2 Power 4 teams, Florida State from the ACC and Wisconsin from the Big Ten. There are future non-conference games scheduled against West Virginia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, to name a few. The anticipation is that the SEC will talk about this at the Destin Spring meetings, and a vote could come soon. But according to Alabama, they're in favor of a 9-game schedule.
Well, it would make things easier if you're adding a conference game as far as your future non-conference and trying to scramble around and find a different game. That's one more power opponent you can add to the schedule. And then maybe it makes it in turn easier for some of these lettuce games where you're not so much worried about strength of schedule. But I think that there was a long, hard look at what happened this past year in the college football playoff for a lot of different programs and conferences and trying to figure out what you do moving forward. I don't know any SEC fans that say we don't want an extra game.
Yeah, and I think it all depends on what's going to happen with the college football playoff. If they can get that resolved, I think then from that point, then you'll have the SEC wanting to go to 9, and then you get a scheduling agreement with the Big Ten. Then sell that package, and that's even more money on the table. So what happens to the Clemsons and the FSUs after they consummate this deal with the ACC to throw out the lawsuits to get a little bit more money? But then when the Big Ten and the SEC decide that they're going to have a scheduling agreement and make even more money, what's the ACC
and the
Big
chasm's
12
even
gonna
that
do?
bigger. No,
I mean, that's
you haven't plugged the hole in the boat.
no.
You're just paling out water.
I mean, you can spin it any way you want to if you're an ACC fan, but that's exactly what you're doing. You mean to tell me that the SEC and the Big Ten is not going to find other revenue streams between now and 2036?
Just checking a box right now, trying to clear out that legal docket, Pat.
Just the
They
amount
just
of
want
money.
it to go away.
Yeah, just the amount of money that's been spent on lawyers from.
And they win, and they always do.
They always do. Billable hours, undefeated, amongst other things in life that are undefeated.
It's a whole show.
Things in life that are undefeated.
Things in life that are undefeated. We'll just start with 1. That takes us through episode 1. We never even have to get to 2.
That'll be on the podcast.
Well, that'll be a podcast. Ooh, I have to do that on a Friday.
A filthy Friday.
A filthy Friday.
I won't be here on Friday.
Wear your Tyvek.
Oh, yeah, you're gone
into
into this
dirty.
week, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Thursday and Friday? You're gone?
Yep.
Where are you going?
Savannah.
That's right. Pageant.
No.
The pageant.
You always do that. Every time I'm going somewhere, pageant? No.
Just seems like she'd be one of those pageant kids.
Never have done
She
a
says
pageant.
she's never done one.
It's amazing to me that she has never done a pageant.
Never in my life.
What kind of debauchery is on the schedule for this weekend?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bachelorette trip, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It'll be fun. I've never been on one.
Molly can smoke
Wait a
a
second.
cigar and unicycle.
Timeout.
Same
You've
time.
never been on a bachelorette party.
No. This is like my first friend, like my first close
I mean,
friend.
trip, bachelorette trip.
Yeah, it's the first time I've been a bridesmaid.
Do you know what these girls do on these trips?
No, I've never been on one.
Okay, well. First of all, you have to have a matching shirt with the rest of your group that lets everyone
Wait a
else
second.
know.
You spent a lot of time in downtown Nashville. You've seen bachelorette.
Oh, I've seen plenty of them.
Okay.
I've never been part of one.
You've got to have one that
I
tells
don't think we
everyone
did
that you're a part of the group.
Yeah, have you gotten everybody like T-shirts and stuff
I
for the
don't
event?
think we're doing that.
Are you
At
doing
least
the novelty balloons, little naughty balloons?
I have no idea. I
Oh.
wasn't part of the decorations committee.
There is definitely
There's a committee?
There's definitely
Wow.
a committee somewhere.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, somebody has been planning this.
The maid of honor.
How many girls are going?
I think there's 10 of us total.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
I definitely see some factions forming. Everybody will not get along by the end of the trip.
Oh, I hope so.
No,
want us
I
to
don't
get
think so.
along.
Have they already
No.
warned that you guys cannot do social media?
I don't think so.
They're gonna sit on one of those bench style carts and act like they're
Drink.
pedaling, and
And
yeah,
drink.
they're just gonna
Yep.
drink.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have those in Savannah?
Oh my god, do they have those in Savannah?
I haven't been to Savannah since I was like 2. So
I haven't been to Savannah
You going
since
to
the
the-
college formal.
The Midnight of Good and Evil. What is that?
I don't know what that is.
That's one of the,
The
that's the
Midnight
clubs.
Garden of
Yeah,
Good and Evil.
Garden of Good and Evil.
Yeah.
It's Club 1. Lady Chablis.
There. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that now. Oh, you'll be
I'm
indoctrinated.
interested.
Lady Chablis.
Are all these girls going sorority girls?
Yes.
Were all y'all in the same chapter?
No, this is my high school friend.
Oh, gotcha.
High school friend.
Besties.
1 o'clock here on Three Man Front on this Reaction Monday. Landrum Roberts, Pat Smith, Molly Robinson, Conrad Van Order. Hope everyone is doing well. Conrad Van Order live from Tuscaloosa, giving us a recap of Kalen DeBoer, his press conference following first spring practice, giving the lowdown on what to expect from the Tide, players that are available, some situational things. All of that can be found at the podcast at jocksfm.com. And the number 3 Man Front. Also, AP basketball. New poll is out. Auburn remains at number 1. Alabama falls in the poll 1 spot this week to number 7 as we get the regular season wrapped up. Conference championship tournaments beginning. Of course, with the SoCon, the Sun Belt. Interesting what the Sun Belt is doing there in Pensacola. And, of course, the SEC coming up next week. Alabama at home as they host Florida this week. Auburn on the road to take on Texas A&M. Bruce Pearl telling the media when he met with them earlier today that Auburn has no plans to change anything up for this week, trying to continue, stay unblemished on the road in SEC play as they take on Texas A&M and College Station tomorrow night, and then Alabama coming to Neville Arena on Saturday to wrap up play. Alabama, obviously, at home versus Florida, and then on the road at Auburn. Will Alabama be on the 1 line? Will they fall to the 2 line? Joe Lunardi, all the bracketologists coming out with their latest models. The belief is that the SEC will have 2 on the 1 line, but who will those 2 teams be? Will it be Tennessee, fresh off their win over Alabama that certainly helped their resume? What about Florida? What happens to the Gators? But Joe Lunardi did make the comment that Auburn, if they just forfeited their last 2 games of the regular season, they would still be on the 1 line and hard to figure out a way that they could find themselves off. But solidifying with a win over Kentucky in Rupp Arena, Pat, I don't know if that's what voters needed to see, but it certainly didn't hurt. No, not at all. And according to the aforementioned Joe Lunardi, the SEC is in great shape with 13 possible teams making the NCAA tournament. What's going to happen this week? It's going to be very interesting because if Alabama were to beat Florida, then Alabama is still in that conversation to get back on the 1 line. I think it would personally have to take them beating Auburn and Florida to get on the 1 line. But if you lose to Florida and then lose to Auburn, I don't think Alabama is in jeopardy of falling to the 3 line. But that would just solidify them on the 2. And then you go into the SEC tournament potentially as a 5 seed, which means you got to play on Thursday and not Friday. And that's problematic if you're wanting to make a run and win the SEC championship. Yeah, and with the league being as deep as it is, neutral site, you just figured awkward time, being in a tournament setting, some of those matchups could be problematic. All right, if you're not totally dialed in. So let me ask you this what-if scenario, and this is a crazy what-if scenario. Let's say Alabama loses to Florida, but they beat Auburn. Okay. Now, you and I both have said about an hour ago that we believe that if that scenario took place, that would not be enough for Alabama to be on the 1 line. You still agree with that? Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Okay. What if then Alabama gets to the SEC tournament and then beats Auburn a second time? Then are you talking about Alabama being on the 1 line at that point? Possibly.
I think so.
2 wins against the number 1 team, Auburn, within a week's time. Yeah. I'd like to know what's happening. But you've lost to Florida, though. Yeah. But also want to know what's happening with Houston and with Duke. Well, I think it's safe to say that Duke's not going anywhere. Yeah.
No.
Nobody's beating them. So then if it's between Alabama, is Alabama and Florida, is that considered a play-in game for the 1 seed? Possibly. No, but that's interesting. If you get another potential matchup with Auburn, if it ends up that way, would that be a Saturday meeting if those 2 teams got together, or would it be Sunday? Oh, that's what I'm looking. So right now, if it started today, they would play in the championship game. Okay. If it because Alabama currently is a 3 seed for the SEC tournament. And I know what's on the line, but if you ask privately Bruce Pearl or Nate Oates, do you want to be playing that game on Sunday? No. Nope. No. I think the ideal situation for Auburn would be getting to the championship game, and you're playing somebody that just absolutely got hot in Nashville and pulled a couple upsets, and you're going into the game playing a likes of an Oklahoma or, somebody like that, or Arkansas. Somebody that found some magic in Nashville and then ran out of gas, and then Auburn didn't have to exhaust a lot of energy to take home the SEC Conference Tournament Championship.
Yeah, again, I don't know how you handle it as far as minutes, and you've had the luxury, if you're Bruce Pearl, of having that deep roster where you're not having to play everyone 30, 35 plus minutes per game. You're keeping it at 30 or below. Maybe that aids in your substitutions and how you're playing that thing. But right now, just looking ahead, you've already wrapped up the 1 seed. You've wrapped up the regular season title. I don't know how much you're going to be hard pressed to try to make a run, and how much more impressive can you be by winning in Nashville?
Yeah. Well, a lot of bracketologists, whether it's Rocco Miller or Jerry Palm or Joe Lenardi, it'll be interesting to hear what their philosophies will be next week as we get ready for championship week for the Power 4, Power 5 basketball conferences to try to figure out, where they currently stand. Does it matter? Because we've had conflicting reports from the bracketologists. I mean, we had Rocco Miller last year tell us that he's in the barn by Friday. Like the committee knows in regards to the top power leagues, who's going and potentially where they're going to fall. Whether you win a game or two, it's not going to mean that big of a deal. But we talked to Jerry Palm a week and a half ago, and he told us the exact opposite. So I guess it just depends on which bracketologist you're talking to in regards to that theory. So we'll see what happens in regards to Alabama and Auburn in regards to what they do in the SEC tournament, and if that affects ultimately what their bracket's going to look like.
205-834-9450 on the Jocks text line. And Brandon reminding us that Mark Pope. Always going with poop. Could play 40 if he wins enough games.
That is, accurate.
Jonathan said, if Bama Hater was never mentioned on the show again, that would be such a great day. He is such a crybaby. Hater. Love Bama Hater. Corey says the crowd at Bartow Arena yesterday was electric. Hopefully they can come out Thursday night for senior night. Hashtag Bartow Standard. Thank you, Corey. Steve from Tuscaloosa said he will take a guess on BB's age, the over-under, and he is putting it at 41. Hashtag crushing on BB. Oh.
Hey.
Lee, Cooper Flagg could not carry Janai Broom's jockstrap. Okay. All the conference discussions, what would college sports look like if there were no more conferences? Each school sets a schedule, then brackets are set up for the end of season playoffs. Selections are determined based on wins and losses and, yes, strength of schedule.
Well, the problem is, you need those conference games. You need a clearinghouse to play those teams. Because if you just independently go and try to schedule all these, it would be a nightmare. So you do need conferences for that specific thing, in my opinion.
Molly going on a bachelorette party weekend, her first. Cody saying lots of salad bars in Savannah, Georgia.
Perfect.
It's going to be lit. She loves her salad bar.
Do love a salad bar.
A good sneeze guard, Molly needs to watch Bridesmaids.
I love that movie. I've seen it.
Okay, she beat you to it.
Go to a Brazilian steakhouse.
Is that where they carve?
No, that was in Bridesmaids.
Oh.
They had gone down.
Oh, before they went and got the dress. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Midnight of the Garden of Good and Evil. Excellent book. Pretty good movie. Fantastic soundtrack.
Yeah, I did not read the book, but I thought the movie was good.
Movie was good. Get Molly a stack of $1 bills. Yep.
Why?
Because
Okay.
there's a lot of dollar poker games
Oh, sweet.
you can buy into down there.
Yeah, just randomly on the street.
Yes. What about North Alabama tonight in their conference tournament? Go Lions.
I'm going to shock you guys, but I have not looked at the
That is amazing.
the Vegas situation for tonight. But I will. I'm doing it now. Duke is 19.5 at home against Wake.
Oh.
Interesting game in the AAC, Wichita
got?
State at North Texas. North
Okay.
Texas -7.
All right.
UCLA at Northwestern. UCLA -3.5. Boy, this is crazy. Houston is a 9.5 point favorite tonight against Kansas.
Whoa.
That's in Houston.
I'm
not
trusting Kansas right
not that anyone is interested. I just kind of like to throw these out sometimes when I look at stuff, whether you want to take that advice or not. It is what it is. But sitting here looking at the over under in that Duke game, it's 144. For purposes of entertainment, I would definitely like the under.
Okay.
Just passing that along. For whatever it's worth.
Under 144?
That's correct.
Okay.
Wake Forest at Duke.
Somebody apparently not a fan favorite of Don calling in the show. Do you guys think Memphis loses in the AAC tournament? They're still in to make the NCAA tournament. Yes.
Yeah, I believe if they lose, they're in. I mean, they've scheduled
That's gonna
well.
help them.
Yeah,
I think they are.
I agree.
Keep them coming in. 205-834-9450. On the text line, the phone lines are open as well. We still have Pat Ponder's questions we have to answer that Pat asked. It's three-man front on a Monday. Jocks 94.5.
So as you heard me earlier talking about Golston Tree Service, we do have some bad weather that is expected in the Birmingham area. And so due to the weather forecast in Birmingham, tomorrow night, the originally scheduled game between number 20 Auburn in baseball and UAB's put together a really nice first part of the season for the Blazers. They're 9-2 on the season. It was supposed to be played at Regions Field. It has been postponed. It was supposed to be played tomorrow night. It has been postponed until Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. So tickets for Tuesday's originally scheduled game are good for Wednesday's rescheduled contest. And so just wanted to make everyone aware of that. So tomorrow night's game at Regions Field between the 20th ranked Auburn Tigers, 11-1 on the season against UAB, 9-2, has been postponed until Wednesday at 5:30. And speaking of baseball, in this week's Baseball America Top 25 poll, how about this for domination? Top 3 are from the SEC, 8 of the top 12 are from the Southeastern Conference, and 13 in the top 25 are from the SEC. Tennessee, LSU, and Arkansas, those are your top 3 teams. Florida comes in at number 6. Georgia is 9, Oklahoma is 10, Texas A&M is 11, Texas is 12, Vandy is 17, Ole Miss is 19, Bama is this is Baseball America, by the way. They're in the top 25, Mississippi State, Kentucky. So another poll, Auburn is in the top 25, but in the Baseball America College top 25, they are not. But top 3 from the SEC, 8 in the top 12, 13 in the top 25.
Not bad at all.
Nope.
And something else that's not bad, our friends at Prize Picks, you can continue to win daily, as a lot of our Jocks listeners have. Prize Picks, the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. The app is really easy to use. You're going to create a lineup. All you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats, and your chance to win up to 1,000 times your money. So the first thing you're going to do, if you've not played Prize Picks yet, you download the Prize Picks app. You fill out all of your information. When you set up your account, you're going to pick between these matchups for your first $5 play. On that first $5 play, win or lose, you're going to get $50 instantly kicked back to your account. I'm looking at the lineup options tonight. We're going college basketball. Pat mentioned it. Duke's got a game tonight. I'm going to go with Cooper Flag, and has the option of 20 points scored by Cooper Flag, more or less. I'm going to go more. Cooper Flag has more than 20 points. Also, Kansas taking on Houston tonight. Hunter Dickinson for Kansas, more or less than 14.5 points. I actually think that Hunter Dickinson has a night. I will go more than the 14.5. It's easy. You just go more or less on particular matchups. Go to the Prize Picks app, download the app, fill out all your information. Your first $5 play, win or lose, enter promo code WJOX. Promo code WJOX, you're going to get the $50 instantly back to your account. Prize Picks, it's that easy. Prize Picks, we appreciate their partnership, not only through the college basketball season, but all year long.
So did you see the news about the Stadium Series NHL hockey game over the weekend? It was played at the Horseshoe.
Yeah, it was the Red Wings and the Blue Jackets.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear about all the problems that Ohio State gave to the NHL?
Mm-mm.
First off, an NHL executive was quoted by the New York Times saying that Ohio State at first resisted allowing the league to refer to the game as the Stadium Series because Ohio State has trademarked the word "the" on clothing and other branded products.
You cannot be serious.
Ohio State at first resisted allowing the league to refer to the game as the Stadium Series because Ohio State has trademarked "the" on clothing and other branded products. Ohio State also wouldn't allow Blue Jackets goaltender Elvis Merzlikins to put Buckeye leaves on his helmet.
Huh.
And they wouldn't allow the NHL to use its name for the pregame football pep rallies. Skull Session to promote its own pep rally in St. John Arena.
Why do they want to have it here?
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing.
Yeah. What?
Are you not going to embrace it? So you're not going to let the goaltender
put Buckeyes on it?
Put Buckeyes as a, and then you won't allow them to use the word the, whatever.
That's so stupid.
One more reason to love them. Buckeyes.
But Ohio State did open up its stadium.
That was nice of them.
The largest stadium in Ohio and one of the largest in the country, so that the Blue Jackets and the NHL could have a celebration. So I just couldn't believe that.
And they won. The Blue Jackets did. So
They have a good team.
They do.
Apparently.
Despite the officials at the Ohio State. Who is that person that's going through all that? Yeah, everything looks good. Oh, whoa.
It's got to be an attorney.
Hey, just a second. Am I seeing the word
But I go back
here?
to what you just said. Why even have it there?
We pronouncing this the or the?
The.
Because this is going to dictate a lot of my next week.
Why even allow them to come in if you're not going to? I mean, they had the whole place decorated like a big O with the center helmet stripe and everything. I mean.
And hey, a team from Columbus was able to beat a team from Michigan in that stadium. So.
You know what?
Positives.
There's the win.
Yeah, that's a win.
Very much so.
Wow, that was a trivia answer never would have gotten.
And how I want to know why somebody gave them the rights to the word the.
Yeah, who decided that was a good idea? He just falling asleep at the wheel.
Somebody in the patent office. Yeah, I got to get it.
Yeah.
I got to get home. Let's go ahead and just
Whatever.
send this through.
Other words. Like, did you approve it for this company to trademark the word and? Because that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Be great. Think about how many law firms you would have to serve.
Oh, so many.
I mean, just the irony. We'll continue with your text, 205-834-9450. Josh letting us know that there's no spread yet on Injit visiting Binghamton tomorrow.
Really? What if there's an injury?
Tell Molly to check out Strange Bird, great restaurant in Savannah.
Strange bird. Thank you. I will write that down.
Thomas asking, could UAB make the NIT if they won the last two regular season games and lost in the finals of the AAC tournament? Record would be at 23-10. Yeah, I think the NIT is certainly on the table. Hopefully they punch their ticket, though. BB says Grant Nelson had that incredible game late into the tournament last year, but his performance this season is mediocre. I do give Nate Oates kudos for admitting he failed in his coaching against Tennessee. And someone asking, where's the Conrad's Conundrum segment? I don't know. We haven't done that in a while, have we? And I can't read that one. 205-834-9450.
Those are my favorite.
Creativity. Yeah. Or let that one slide. But by the way, I did not realize that John Cena turning heel was such a big deal over the weekend. Yeah, apparently he turned heel.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. You never saw that one coming?
No. Well, that,
I don't know what that does, Pat.
I was just worried about his acting career.
Oh, I think he's a pretty good actor.
Well, I'm saying, does that mean that his roles are now going to change based on the
where
fact
he can't
that
play the nice guy?
Mm-hmm.
I think he could probably do both. He's broadening his range as a thespian.
Good for him.
Mm-hmm. We continue. We have Pat Ponders. It comes your way next. $129, three-man front here on this Monday. Big show coming up tomorrow from Social Taco. If you've never joined us, we broadcast from 10 until 2 at Social Taco in the square there in Homewood every single Tuesday. Hopefully you'll make your plans to be with us on a Taco Tuesday. Also tomorrow we'll be previewing. You've got Auburn and Texas A&M coming up at Reed Arena. They're in College Station, 6 o'clock tip-off. You can hear the game right here on Jocks 94.5. It is time for 5 questions prepared by Pat. We try to eloquently answer them. This is what we call Pat Ponders.
Brought to you each and every day by Courtesy GMC in Trussville off of exit 32 I-459 in Trussville. Visit their online inventory at courtesybirmingham.com. Yesterday at halftime of the LSU Ole Miss women's basketball game, in 27 seconds of TV drama, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey flipped a coin to determine the number 1 overall seed in the SEC women's tournament. South Carolina won the toss, by the way, so Texas will be the number 2 seed. Now, the coin toss was only 3rd on the list of tie-breaking criteria in the SEC. Now, other sports use coin tosses to determine seeding, but it's further down the list of criteria. Like, for instance, in the NFL, the 12th option is used for a flip of the coin in the procedure for a divisional tie ahead of the playoffs. In the NBA and WNBA, they also have several other criteria before you get to the flipping of the coin. But my question is, should sports be quicker to determine seeding from a coin toss?
I mean, it's to the point. It's a 50-50 shot. I don't have an issue with it.
No, once you get down to certain criteria on the list or whatever been put in place, I have no problem with ending it. Are you asking just from the beginning? Just go ahead and just make it a coin flip?
I am.
If there's a tie, no head-to-head. No, I would still like to think that head-to-head in some
It's important.
scenarios are still important, but
I probably wouldn't have it be the first thing, but I don't think it needs to be, 12th down the list.
It's third in the SEC
Mm-hmm.
with the basketball tiebreaker.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was 27 seconds of drama.
Yeah. They had the fancy coin too.
Having, Commissioner Sankey
It was great.
standing there in the atrium of the Southeastern Conference headquarters, flipping the coin.
I think it'd be maybe even more entertaining. You could incorporate it on your video board. Like it's the Capital One, wallet challenge.
Oh yeah,
So
where
you have
it's
the moving.
Yeah.
And everybody has to follow it. But make one of the coaches from one of the teams, like Dawn Staley's got to follow it.
Number 3.
Don't you think that somebody from Texas probably cried foul? Oh yeah, South Carolina. Oh yeah.
Let me see that coin.
They've been in the league the whole time. We're new to the conference.
Yeah, we knew we were going to get screwed on this deal.
Yeah.
Well, remember football season.
Yeah, they were not
You
screwed
guys
there.
got a sweetheart of a schedule.
And you won swim and dive.
Yeah, the 46 years straight that they've won a championship. All right, question number 2. We were just talking about this. The Stadium Series in the NHL, it drew a massive crowd. 94,751 people showed up at the famed Horseshoe to watch the NHL. So 5 SEC football stadiums could technically host that many people for a hockey game. These are the 5 that would go over 94,751. Texas A&M, LSU, Tennessee, Alabama, and Texas. Which of those locations do you think could draw enough interest to surpass that for an NHL game if it were held in one of those 5 SEC stadiums? A&M, LSU, Tennessee, Bama, or Texas?
Immediately, I was thinking A&M or Texas because you at least have the Dallas Stars in state. Because Tennessee, Nashville already had a Stadium Series. I think Nissan did a couple years ago. And plus, I mean, I guess you could have a lot of Preds fans drive over and you could maybe play the Carolina Hurricanes. And that would kind of be centrally located. But the first one that came to mind was one of the Texas schools and having the Dallas Stars play, I don't know, the St. Louis Blues or someone.
I go Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M would be.
That'd be fun.
They'd be proud to want to go try to break the record. They just seem like a fan base that would show up in full force.
The Merry Milkman could drop the puck.
Wasn't going to go there, but yeah, that would be huge.
Oh, and how the Ohio State band did a performance on the ice. You could have the Merry Milkmen do their performance on the ice, and then little figure skating.
Sliding between each other's legs on the ice and doing all kinds of fun things.
Oh, boy.
Twirl me, Trevor. Twirl me. I don't know why I went Trevor there. CAD. Trev.
Just Trev.
Well, one thing's for sure at Kyle Field, because they hosted, I think, an international friendly back during the football. I might know it was late summer. That's when it was. Oh, it drew record crowds. I think over 100,000 for a soccer match. Huge number. 94,751 for
international friendly. That sounds crazy.
It's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it?
It sounds crazy is what it sounds.
Question number 3. How much impact do you think President Trump had on the Major League Baseball now considering a petition to remove Pete Rose from baseball's ineligible list?
I think he definitely had an impact. The fact that it's.
I mean, he parted him.
Have we just been waiting on this the whole time for Pete Rose? President to put it on his initiative to get this man into the Hall of Fame?
I was unaware until I saw it over the weekend.
Or do you think
Trump was
now,
doing
unfortunately, it's because we're going to have to do it posthumously? Which is a shame.
Well, it's just interesting because with Trump saying what he did, and then all of a sudden the commissioner's office has done kind of an about face and met with the family's lawyers. I mean, I think it's potentially going to happen. Which I have said from the get-go. I mean, you cannot deny what he did on the baseball field. Like, you put as many asterisks or whatever you want to on his plaque in Cooperstown, that he was kicked out of the game. He was banned from the game for doing the following. But you can't deny what he did on the field as a player. I've said it a million times. The Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, is not a Hall of Saints.
No.
Go read the story of Ty Cobb and the things that man did in his lifetime.
Well, and we'll never know it, but if the reason that you were holding it out is you had planned on, we'll vote him in once he's dead, then shame on you.
Yeah.
You don't want him to enjoy it while he's alive. So let's vote him in just as soon as he passes on. Come on. But no, I think that Trump had something to do with it.
I think he did too.
Question number 4. An attorney recently got busted for using bogus AI-generated case law in a legal brief.
Oh, no.
Do you think a major college football coach has used AI to develop a game plan for their opponent?
Oh.
That would be hilarious.
I think
Do you think somebody's done it?
I think there's
yeah.
one. There's probably somebody that's come up with one just to say how much different is it from what we're actually going to do.
You know what we did while you were gone?
What?
So somebody texted into the show, and they were talking about you should go to one of the AI generators and type in like a dream that you've had, and the AI will tell you what that dream meant. And we put your dream in of
Jimbo Fisher,
in the helicopter.
What does it mean?
It was very layered. There was a lot
to it.
Yeah, a lot of different things that everything had a different meaning.
Well, it was talked about how you admired Jimbo.
Yes, that's why he was in your dream.
Yeah.
And then the helicopter represented something else. And then it was
pretty deep.
It was very deep.
Yeah.
But yeah, we put that in there. When we got the text, we said, oh, okay, well, let's analyze Landrum's dream about Jimbo Fisher being naked.
What?
Wait, that wasn't the dream?
No.
Oh. We put it in the wrong one, Molly.
Dang it, we'll have to retry it.
It was not me. And Jimbo.
All right, so you guys think somebody's done it?
You're getting that one confused with me just cruising around in a helicopter naked.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody
It's always
else in
got
there.
something to do with a helicopter.
And I'm flying. Just goggles on. What was the question? What?
AI. Has a football coach used AI to develop
What was Landrum's
football,
favorite dream with Jimbo?
Yes.
football game plan?
No, he's definitely, there's been a coach that's done that.
Okay. All right, final question for today. Today is National Cold Cut Day.
Yes.
What is your favorite sandwich meat?
Olive loaf.
Olive loaf.
Remember I had to eat it?
I do remember that.
On the show.
I do remember that.
A lot of sodium.
That was back when people on this show would actually pass the food challenges.
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't had that in a long time.
Can we bring that back?
Yeah, we're going to bring that back. Oh, cold cut. Man.
You're making a sandwich this afternoon when you go home.
See, but
what are you putting on your sandwich?
Normally it'd be turkey, but if I want to be fancy or really feel like I'm treating myself to a sandwich, it's going to be one of your Italian meats. Salami.
Okay.
I was going to say salami, but typically I just eat turkey or ham.
But which is your favorite?
Probably salami.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm. Really? You don't like it?
No,
You don't like
God,
salami?
No. Mm-mm.
I probably eat turkey the most, but I like salami.
No ham?
I like ham.
Ham's okay.
I think it's good.
It's more.
So you eat more salami sandwiches than any other sandwich, Molly?
What, like, eat it more?
No, what have you consumed more?
Oh, turkey.
Okay.
Yeah, turkey's the one I eat the most.
Yeah, and turkey would be the one that I've eaten the most.
Yeah.
But if you said, all right, you're going to be able to have one fancy sandwich, I would have salami.
And you love your fancy sandwiches.
I do love my fancy sandwiches. I like to treat myself to a fancy sandwich every now and then. Makes me feel like a fancy girl.
What kind of bread do you put it on?
Oh,
Rye.
no. I'm not going to do rye. No, it depends.
It's like sourdough.
Yeah, sourdough's a
Mm-hmm.
good one to go. Yep. Mm-hmm. Brioche. That was a trendy bun vessel for a while.
Put it on a
Guess it still
pretzel
is.
bun.
Pretzel bun?
Mm-hmm.
Or just some pita?
Pita.
What else did you have?
I mean, I got plenty more, but you guys don't deserve a extra question today. So
Oh, but we've been so good.
I felt like that was number 4.
that was number 5.
Oh. Maybe just
Would you like me to review?
just ask one more. No. Just one more.
Man, you're begging.
I mean, it's his first day back.
Come on, man, just one more.
Okay. If a team made athletes to wear body cameras like police do, how drastically would sports culture change?
Oh. Well,
Well, so you have to mute those.
pre and post game, that would
Yeah.
change how you looked at whoever
I'm
was
thinking
participating.
Antonio Brown. Would his
Oof.
life be different if he had to wear a body camera?
Honestly, part of me just thinks he'd embrace it.
Even more opportunities
Yeah.
for him to.
Yeah, but who are
Honestly.
those quarterbacks or sports figures that they want to paint a pretty picture, but you actually would learn who they really are?
Yeah.
Because there are several out there that I think have been painted as golden boy that are not. That's not accurate.
They're
on who
living a
they really
crazy
are.
lifestyle.
Yeah. Just maybe not as I don't know. Nah. Just as nice as people think that they are. Could be former athletes that are still in the media.
By the way, Brandon from Leeds tweets into the show and he says, "Did I just hear Pat bring up a food challenge? What about the stinky fish challenge with
We
me?"
need to do that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
It's still on the roof somewhere here. Just marinating.
I do need to check on it.
We do
I
need to
am
get
not
that
lying
done.
to you. I have not checked on it in months.
Well, please check
So
on
we've
it.
had that for a long time.
Landrum spent a lot of money on
I
that.
did spend a lot of money. Somebody's throwing up.
Yeah. Had to get through customs and it was a whole thing.
It was a deal.
Yep. That's today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful, right off of exit 32, I-459, Edwards Lake Road, next to Lowe's, courtesybirmingham.com. More three-man front on this Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. A reminder, we'll be out at Social Taco tomorrow. Doors open up at 11. We'll be there beginning at 10 a.m., 10 to 2. And then, of course, tomorrow night, you will be able to hear the Auburn Tigers taking on the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies. That's an 8 o'clock tip. That is a 7:30 pregame show right here on Jocks 94.5.
Our friends at Dobbs Ford want to remind you that if you are in the market, maybe for a new F-150, a Mustang, a Bronco Sport, an Explorer, how about an Escape? You can check it out. Alabama's largest showroom selection, DobbsFordBirmingham.com. State-of-the-art service. You're going to get that warm reception from either Joey, his wife Rachel, they're the managing partners there at Dobbs Ford, or their wonderful sales team, their entire staff. You're going to get that. Total transparency, no hassle approach, and they'll beat any competitor's price. It's Dobbs Ford. They're right there on Parkway East in Birmingham. Go to DobbsFordBirmingham.com. And as always, make sure you tell them Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
Back to the text line we go. We'll try to get as many of your texts read before the top of the hour. The Paul Feinbaum Show coming up. She'll have plenty of basketball talk on his show.
This one flying in at Bama Hater. Tell Bama Hater, North Carolina just scored again. What a damn joke caller he is. Just reading the text. Tiebreaker scenarios. Get a fan to throw a coin from the stands. LOL. Quarter in a pocket. Cold cut Rushmore. Turkey and cheddar or Italian roast beef and provolone, says one of our listeners.
Okay.
Provolone's great.
You do the provolone roll-ups, too.
Turkey and provolone.
You do the salami, too, right?
Every once in a while. Depends. Sometimes I'll do
You're
ham.
feeling crazy.
Yeah.
Bobby sent this one in. I think it's an assorted. Is that a muffalata? I can't tell. Looks really good, though. Hastings saying, imagine having a camera on him or figuring out Gronk is like a mathematical or musical savant. And Brian says, Cajun turkey from Publix Deli. Way to go there.
What do you say, Cajun what?
Cajun turkey.
Oh.
Go with a bowl turkey. Appreciate the request. Recommendations. 205-834-9450.
So Joe Lenardi just minutes ago, he has just put out another bracket. He basically kind of sets the stage for tonight as Wake Forest is at Duke. I like the under 144, just FYI. Blue Devils have cushion for both a number 1 seed and Raleigh-Newark path. Wake has next to no chance at an at-large bid without the win here against Duke. Kansas is at Houston tonight. That's a 8 o'clock tip-off. Houston is close to locking up a number 1 seed. Number 7 seed Kansas is very close to locking up the worst seed in the Bill Self era. It's not been a very good year for the Jayhawks. UCLA at Northwestern tonight, according to Joe Lenardi. 6 seed Bruins would drop with another loss, elevating a 7 seed Illinois. So it sounds like if UCLA loses at Northwestern, that Illinois will then overtake the Bruins.
Think about how much complaining Cronin will do if they do. Oh.
Some other notes by Joe Lenardi. He says Michigan's loss on Sunday dropped Michigan behind Kentucky for the last number 3 seed. So Kentucky, the Wildcats, holding on to the 3 seed. Michigan now a 4. According to the bubble, Lenardi says Monday metrics favor Boise State over hold your nose Oklahoma for the last spot. Takes a little shot there at the old the Sooners. Auburn number 1, Duke 2, Houston 3, Tennessee 4. Those are your 1 seeds. Alabama is the top number 2 seed, followed in by Florida, Michigan State, Iowa State. On the 3 line, you have Texas Tech, Wisconsin, St. John's, Kentucky. 4 line, as of this moment, you've got Purdue, Arizona, A&M, Michigan. On the 5 line, you've got Clemson, Mizzou, Maryland, and Oregon. Last 4 buys Georgia is trending up. They're one of the last 4 byes. Last 4 in, you've got Arkansas. First 4 out is now Oklahoma. So Oklahoma is now out. And then Texas is also one of the last 4 outs. SEC still has 13 teams, according to Joe Lenardi at 1:54 Central Standard Time on this March the 3rd.
It's just hard to imagine some of these teams that we're looking at, and are they on the line? Are they off of the line? And to look at their conference schedules. Maybe it's just because seems like we've had more conference games in recent years, but seeing some of these lopsided, and when I say lopsided, like you're in conversation for the tournament and you are 7 games below 500 in your conference standings. It's wild. And maybe it's been this way in past years. I just can't remember that many teams that we were talking about being on the bubble and looking at their conference win-loss line.
Well, it's interesting because to me, nationally speaking, when you look at everybody involved from a bubble standpoint, I think nationally bubble teams are down, but bubble teams are up in the SEC. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, there's more conversation of teams from the Southeastern Conference that is on the first 4 in, first 4 out, or whatever the case may be. Whereas nationally speaking, you don't have a lot of those Cinderella stories that have been developed yet. Now, you might have a couple from a 1-bid league that somebody steals a bid, but as of right now, it just seems like to me, nationally speaking, there's a lot of bubble teams that are down. Might just be my perception, but.
Well, and having teams or conferences like the ACC that's had a lackluster year, some of those other teams that would fill those normal bracket conversation, bubble conversations, we're not getting as many of those this year, because then there's a drastic drop-off with that team that's considered maybe 12, 13, 14 in the SEC to that team that is considered maybe 8th or 9th in the ACC.
I mean, we've talked about this before. Let's talk about the ACC. Duke 6-3 in quad 1, Clemson 4-2, Louisville 4-4, SMU 0-5, Carolina 1-10, Pittsburgh 1-9, Wake 2-6, Stanford 2-6, Florida State 1-6, Virginia 2-9, Notre Dame 0-7, Georgia Tech 3-5, California 0-8, NC State 0-8, Syracuse 0-8, Virginia Tech 0-4, Boston College 1-5, and Miami of Florida 0-8. Those are all quad 1 records for ACC teams. That's how pathetic they are.
Live from Social Taco tomorrow, 10 until 2. Thanks for joining us today on 3-Man Front. Paul Feinbaum. Paul Feinbaum Show is next. You're on your home for March Madness. Jocks 94.5.